And we are live. Hello, everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We are the Erasmus Expeditions is the name of the channel. And tonight we are going to be playing a Tron-themed game in using the Fate Accelerated system. However, it's going to be very, very loosely interpreted, as I am by no means an expert with Fate. So hopefully it all turns out all right. But ultimately, we're just here to have some fun, throw some laser discs around, and derez some bad guys. So, yeah, I think that's about it as far as my introduction goes. The one thing that I will warn everybody about is that we are adults, at least in our maturity. So, yeah, there's likely to be language that is unfit for children, and sometimes even topics and subject matter that kind of ventures into the mature. So this is your last warning. If that kind of stuff offends you, then get the fuck out. So, without any further bullshit from me, we're going to get right along into things, and we're going to let our players do their introductions. You guys can hold off on discussing much about your character aside from maybe name. We'll get into that in just a little bit here. But we will start things off with Alex.
Hi, I'm Alexander. I am playing ALU, which is the arithmetic logic unit. And my camera keeps refocusing, which is really annoying. And his name is pronounced Alu.
Excellent. And next up is Baron.
What's up, everybody? I'm Baron. I'm going to be playing the Defense Protocol Unit Shield.
Excellent. And next up is Brandish.
Hey, sorry, I forgot. Hey, I'm Brandish Gilhelm here, Hanker Infernail. I'll be playing Drive, DRIV3, the fastest 32-bit pilot on the grid.
Excellent. Next up is John.
John Lamb, and I'm going to be portraying ISO, an information storage operations system.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, we have Luke.
Howdy, everybody. I'll be playing Abja, who is a reformed viral program.
Excellent. Okay, so for those of the audience that may be a little unfamiliar with Fate, we are just going to go over a real rough and tumble kind of character creation as a part of the beginning of the game here. And we have several players who are also new to Fate. And again, it's not something that I am 100% solid on, so we're going to figure it out kind of as we go. So getting started with that, let's the first thing that you kind of all need is to have a high concept. It's kind of just the defining aspect of your character. So if you have something like that for your character already in mind, just anybody go ahead and speak up and we'll get the ball rolling here.
Well, I feel like mine's pretty easy to sum up. I'm kind of like Baby Driver, but I'm out of Tron universe. And I'm old. I'm like one of the last 32-bit programs. But I swear that we're faster drivers than all the new school mobile programs. So mine's pretty simple. You need to move something from one point to another. I like doing it, and I like doing it out in the open.
All right. So a good high concept for that might just be simply something like driver or transporter or delivery unit, or faster than the new guys. Anybody else?
Well, I put my high concept as arithmetic logic unit because I can calculate things very quickly. That's basically my whole plan with him. He's just going to be very quick.
Okay. It works for me. Yeah, a lot of this is mainly just about putting it into context or words that you guys can quickly just understand and drum up a possible benefit for using as the game goes. Anybody else?
I have ISO is big and slow, strong and careful. He's much larger than most others, and very calculating in what he does. He comes across as dim, but actually just careful. So his high concept would be big and slow, strong and careful data storage program.
Fair enough. Hopefully your character sheet has a big enough blank for that. That works for me, though. Excellent. Who's next?
The high concept I went with is damage defense protocol unit. Short, sweet, to the point.
Sure. Yep. Cool. I think everybody but Luke, did you spit one out already?
Nope. I'm still trying to work on my high concept.
Sure. And if you need any help, just shout it out.
Just to be clear, we're using accelerated fate, or we're using traditional fate core?
We are using a bastardized version of Fate Accelerated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically going to run just like Fate Accelerated, except that I'm going to be very, very loose with its application. That's the only real departure.
Okay. The reason I asked is that the character sheets right off the bat are very different. The way that they're formatted. Would you prefer we use a Fate Core character sheet that has the +5 down to the +1, or you want to use the Fate Accelerated?
Honestly, it doesn't really matter to me as long as you're able to access the information. Like, it's I'm not seeing your character sheet, so it doesn't really matter one way to me.
He wants you to use the Fate Accelerated character sheet. Knowing what you're talking about, I know that that's what he wants.
Okay. Thank you.
I thought of my better high concept. It's fastest thinker on the grid.
There you go. Throw a little Wild West in there.
Nice.
Okay, so while Luke is cooking up his high concept, let's go ahead and get started with trouble. Anybody have one of those to start off with?
My trouble is Stack Overflow. I can only withstand so much input at a time before I have a Stack Overflow and have to refresh all my stuff.
It's funny how digital, Alex, your mindset is. So in contrast, my trouble is I'm tired of tyrants coming and going. And to me, the only real freedom on the grid is crime. So I'm a very human program, which I think is part of my trouble, where it's kind of cool that Alex is an extremely digital program. That makes a good combo. So mine is tired of tyrants, crime is freedom.
Excellent. I like it. Anybody else?
My trouble, kind of touched on it in my high concept, malfunctioning. So instead of just putting malfunctioning, I'm going to go with askew vision of original programming. Kind of like I'm just not acting correctly.
Just a little off, huh? Excellent. All right, John, you got a trouble in mind? Not yet? Sure. Yep. How you doing on the high concept there, Luke? Any closer?
Struggling between that and finding accelerated character sheets.
Okay. There's not a whole lot to the character sheets for accelerated, at least. It's basically your high concept, your trouble, some space for your aspects and your stunts, and then stress boxes, and then your approaches, of course.
If it means anything, I used a note card in our last Fate game, so.
Yeah, I've done that before as well.
This is my character sheet.
Back to John. Did you have any luck finding a trouble?
Give me just a second.
Sure. Yeah.
I consult, and I have someone hitting my my stuff up real quick. I'm trying to get rid of them real fast.
Okay. All right. So we have high concept and trouble, and then, like I said, about one, maybe two other aspects. Does anybody have any of those thought out already? You want to toss out?
One of my aspects is parity bit, which I can use to tell if something is true or not, or if it's working or not. Basically, parity bit is anytime I get information, I can know whether or not there's something wrong with the information. Or I can't always do it, but I can tag it to do it better.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Or need explaining about how to work up a concept? Or not a concept, an aspect? It sounds like, Baron, you got one?
Well, I'm kind of thinking that my high concept and my aspect are kind of the same. Since I'm a defense protocol unit, it's probably pretty assumable that I am specialized in defense and protection protocols. So I think that's doubled up, so I'm going to have to rework my aspect.
Okay, I got 3, Jeremy.
All right, what you got?
I've got, the first one is never lose your cool. So like, even when it's all going to hell and we're like blasting through security barriers and recognizers are smashing everything, then I just stay at the controls. The second one is solve it with throttle. So whenever there are problems, just push the gas harder. There's no looking back in this life. And then my third one is a little more dubious. Like, I don't know if it's to my advantage as much, but it's sort of that I'm known as part of the underground. So I'm no longer anonymous as an illegal carrier program. People spot me and I'm immediately, so I'm like tagged. My program is tagged or something.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm easy to identify as an outlaw program.
Excellent.
I think I figured mine out. Kind of as an opposite to Brandish's. I'm a number. I'm a cog, faceless unit. And then I came up with the second one. I'm a man of action rather than a man of words.
Yeah, that works great. Those are both great aspects. Absolutely. Alex, did you have any other aspects in mind, or are you just going with that one?
I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of something like, I don't know how to phrase it, but something like working together is good. But I'm trying to think of a way to put that more computery sounding.
I thought of the song from the Lego movie. I can't think of how exactly it goes.
Everything is awesome when you work as a team.
That's immediately what came to mind. So this is no longer Tron. This is Lego.
We're now playing Lego Tron.
That was my client who was on the phone who decided to come to my house.
All right. So, how to put teamwork into computer terms? There's some kind of term that like they use for whenever they put more than one computer on a single task. I don't know what it is because I'm not a computer person, but
neural network. I'm going to go with neural networking.
Perfect.
Yes, so I am neural networked into the grid, and I can assist other programs better and have them assist me, like take power from them or give power to them.
Cool.
Before we get
too
far and crazy past that, I just got rid of the client. I modified the high concept to be a little cleaner, and I just put, it's a play on words. I put grid linebacker. One to
Nice.
show his size and everything, but the fact that it's lines of code. a
I like it.
linebacker, because he handles data. So he's a grid linebacker.
Sure thing.
Now for the trouble, I put far too careful, and in regards to the fact that he has been a tool program for his whole existence up to this point. So he was carrying data that he never saw. He never had access to it. He was just a storage unit, a vessel. And now he's gaining piece and parcel access to these, and he's trying to figure things out, but it's making him worrisome because he's been so used, kind of like somebody had been in East Berlin and now they can go to West Berlin. They're always going to be looking over their shoulder, a little too cautious. So I put always too careful as his trouble.
Okay. Yeah, and you might want
And
to
then-
add something in there about like these fragmented, bits of data that he's kind of gaining access to occasionally. That could also be problematic.
You want that as a second trouble?
Oh no, just if you can think of a way to work that into the trouble as well, that would be good. But you absolutely do not have to.
Okay, so I will base far too careful on that he is guilty over having access to the data that he carries.
I know. Oh,
Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I know I'm way back at the high concept stuff, but I put my high concept down as reprogrammed Trojan virus.
Excellent. Yeah, that definitely works.
Codename LimeWire.
All right. Nice. Let's see. So we've got high concept and trouble from almost everybody. And we've got a couple of aspects that have been thrown out. It sounds like Brandish is good on aspects. It sounds like Alex is probably good on aspects.
Yeah, I've got two. You wanted only two, right?
Yeah, just 1, 2, 3, somewhere around there. Just whatever feels comfortable for your character. Baron, you had a concept aspect. Did you throw it already? Yeah. Okay.
I threw up a couple. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Good.
Could we hear somebody who has their 2 or 3 already one more time so I can get an idea which way you went?
Sure. My high concept is fastest thinker on the grid. My trouble is stack overflow, because if I get too much input, I overload. One of my aspects is parity bit, which is I can check the parity bit of anything to check whether or not whatever is happening makes sense, or if it's glitching or whatever. My other aspect is neural networked, which is that I'm connected to everything. So
that's 4?
that is a high concept, a trouble, and 2 aspects.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Very good.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, Alex, and I know you know Fate better than I do, but your high concept and your trouble are technically aspects as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you could still tag them, definitely, but your high concept is supposed to be who you think you are and who the world sees you as, and then you, Jeremy, will tag my trouble when you want to screw with me.
Cool. So.
All right, I changed that trouble. I changed the trouble from that big long line of stuff to just guilty conscience, and we'll know that the guilty conscience because he's tagging into it, and I'll just play it that he plays careful. So I just got to figure out these 2 aspects. Now the aspects are not per se abilities or anything like that. They're just character definitions.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray territory. They're kind of character abilities, but it's things that cost you in order to enact.
Got it.
At least that's my very flimsy understanding of how they work.
What was the name of the programs that Clue killed?
They are the ISOs, similarly named to John's character, actually. Just it stands for something different.
Hey, John, check the chat. I copied and pasted something for you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex, for doing that.
I'm going to look, but you're not the boss of me.
Yes, I am.
So I have my trouble for Abja
Sure thing. Fire
Trouble
away.
is, Clue used me against the ISOs when I was a Trojan.
Okay. So let's see. What's a good way to put that? A government tool. Traitor.
Yeah, probably something about traitor.
Yeah.
Probably something about neither side really likes him.
Yeah, that could be a good trouble to have.
What's your trouble? Well, no one really likes you.
I've known people like that.
My programming is infamous? No. Or I guess trouble could be I am a known traitor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your reputation precedes you.
Yeah, that could work too. Akron, remind me if you would, please, what your trouble was.
I sort of consider crime to be the only form of freedom we have left.
That's right. Excellent.
So it makes me very hasty to just defy whatever the rules may be. So you want to be free? Do some crimes.
Perfect. And Baron, what was yours again?
My trouble is I guess it's kind of confusing in a way of using it against me. I'm malfunctioning. I'm not a standard defense protocol unit. I act unaccordingly sometimes.
Perfect. Okay. So now that we have troubles, high concepts, and a couple of aspects for everybody, we could probably move on to either approaches or stunts. Your approaches are probably the most similar thing to a stat in other role-playing games that you may be used to for those of you who have not played before. There are 6 approaches. They are careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, and sneaky. And just like it says on the tin, they are how your character approaches any given situation. The way that that works in game is that you, as a player, describe exactly kind of what your intentions are, how you're going about doing any specific action or interaction, and you and I then will discuss and come up with which approach that best fits into. And you want to try as a player to not have everything that you do go into the same approach. You know, you don't want to always do something flashy just because that's your best stat. It's tempting, but it becomes very unfun. So as far as how to assign these approaches, you get one of them that you get to delegate is a +3. You then get 2 of them that are +2s. You then get 2 additional that are +1s, and then you get the 6th as a 0. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are abysmal at the one that has a 0 in it. It's just you're closer to the average person at that particular approach. Does anybody have any questions about all of that business? No.
What were those 6 again?
They are careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, and sneaky.
Before anyone has a question, I got mine down if they need an example.
Sure, go for it.
I actually took mine right out of the Fate Accelerated book. It's the Guardian build. I figure that kind of matches my character's personality the best. And so my approaches to things are carefully, I have a +3. Clever +2. Flashy 0. Forceful +2. Quick 1. And sneaky +1. So I guess in the tiered sense, my careful is my best at +3. My clever and forceful are second best at +2. Quick and sneaky are just above average at +1, and then flashy is average.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else want to give it a shout? Let the people know what you're thinking.
Basing mine mostly on what I know about arithmetic units, and since I've built them, I know everything about them. I'm quick, because that is the entire reason why you get an ALUs, because they're fast. I'm also forceful, and clever is my 2. Quick is my 1. Forceful and clever is my 2. And then the other ones, I didn't want any of them, but sneaky and careful, I imagine he can be a little bit that, but ALUs are not flashy. I produce results.
I have almost the same setup. My top is quick, then forceful and clever, then flashy, sneaky, and scrooby and careful.
So we have a 4, 2 3s. No, 4, a 3, 2 2s, 2 1s. What?
A 3,
6,
2
7.
2s. Yeah, I'll type it up for you.
I got it. Go ahead. I'm writing it down.
You have a 3, 2 2s, 2 1s, and a 0.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. So we've got Alex, Baron, and Brandish's approaches kind of hammered out. Luke or John, do you guys have anything you want to shout out or talk about or ask questions on about the approaches?
All right, I'm ready. Do you want the numbers?
Yeah, just let us know which ones you assign them to.
3 to careful, 2 to clever, 2 to forceful, 0 to flashy, and then 1 to click and 1 to sneaky.
Excellent.
I have someone I'll be getting along with.
Mine are 2 to careful, 3 to clever, 0 to flashy, 1 to forceful, 1 to quick, and 2 to sneaky.
Excellent.
Oh, and
Very nice.
my other 2 aspects, by the way, are meta awareness, so he knows it's a program, and outdated software.
I like that. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's a great way to represent that. Cool. All right, so that covers approaches for everybody. So that just leaves stunts. Stunts, again, I'm the weakest on aspects and stunts. The differences between all that kind of stuff. So again, that's one of the reasons why the rules will be a little loosey-goosey this evening. But as far as my understanding of stunts go, they are more specific, tailored abilities that you have that you can enact in a scene that do not cost you fate points. The same way, usually do not cost you fate points, the same way that invoking an aspect does. Does that about cover it, Alex?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Cool.
Not an expert or anything. I've just played this game 3 times before, that's all. 3
Yeah,
whole
I
times.
have too. I've run it once.
Well,
I
what's
know,
nice
it's there.
is the Fate Accelerated is literally like 40 pages. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you can read it on the toilet if you felt so inclined.
Well, I'll start off with what my stunts are. My first stunt is brute force algorithm. So sometimes instead of doing something like trying to figure it out, I'll just try everything at once, and whatever works, works. And so brute force algorithms are basically you just try everything as quick as you can to see which one is good. So it's once per scene, I can use quickness instead of anything else.
Nice. Those are great examples of stunts.
I had come up with an idea for the character before we did all this, in that as he purged that excess data, he still has some data stuck inside of him, but the excess, the main bulk of it, he had never been empty before. So once he was empty, he found out that if he had access to nexus points on the grid, he could draw the grid energy into them and store the energy instead. So in fact, the idea was that he was going to be a cleric. He would pull the excess energy into himself, and if others got wounded or hungry, he could lay hands on them and transfer the energy to them. I'm not sure how to write that up as a stunt, but that's the direction I wanted to go.
You could have
Yes,
once, it'd probably end up having to be once per game, but you can remove someone's stress. Would be probably what that is.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say, yeah, once per session, essentially is how you'd probably word it, is that you can remove all of the stress boxes from one target. I was trying to think of a way that you could split it. Well, you could always just create a second stunt where once per scene, you can remove one stress box worth of things from a target, if you'd like. So that way it's a little more frequent but less powerful.
All right, and we wanted to have 2 stunts?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
How about we I've played Fate quite a few times, and I kind of went with the motions at the time because everybody knew the system except me, so I kind of went with it. But I didn't see a whole lot of stress except in one pirate game, so I'm not sure. That sounds great, but it's not going to be like D&D. There's not going to be that many people getting wounded per se. So unless you plan on, being the Slaughter King.
I guess only time will tell.
Okay. All right. Let me give it some thought then.
All right. My other stunt is going to be fiber optics. So when I am creating an advantage quickly, I will get +2. So that is one of the basic stunts. Is you say, because I can do this, I get +2 when I approach, do one action. Like someone might say, because I am so good at defending, I get +2 when I flashily defend.
I actually have one that is directly related to that. One of my stunts is because I'm a defense specialist, I get a +2 when reacting quickly to a teammate in danger. So it kind of goes away from one of my main stats that I'm focusing on to kind of, well round me out, but it's not something I can use all the time.
I think then I understand how to construct mine. So my 2 are impossible maneuver. So that's anytime I'm out running, I can roll with a +2. Whether it's on foot or in a vehicle or anything, I'm dope like that with the cornering. And then
Yes.
My second one is disc combat. So that's when fighting with data discs, I'm at a +2. Is that too big?
It's when you quickly fight with data discs, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. You usually want to tie it to one specific approach.
Yeah.
That kind of helps narrow it down just a little bit.
Okay.
But yes, those are both very good stunts to have. And it sounds like they fit the character concept very, very well.
If anyone wants it, I put a link down here that will generate random stunts for you to look at.
This is my second game of Fate, so I don't have the clearest difference between stunts. There's the basic ones that I can invoke with the Fate point, which I know we'll talk about later, but then there's the once per game stunts.
Yeah, so the things that require fate points typically are invoking your aspects. And then stunts usually are just situational. It's like Alex was pointing out, where it's, in a specific circumstance, I get a bonus because of this thing.
Okay, so for example, I'm pretty sure I got like the less serious stunts down packed. But my, I guess, example for the once per game, if you will, because I'm a defense protocol unit, once per game I can resist a heavy amount of damage forcefully. My body kind of just sucks it up through sheer force.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like I'm playing in Alan Holloway's X-Men Fate game this Friday, and I'm playing as Wolverine. So it sounds kind of like a similar stunt that I came up with him, where essentially once per scene, he can shift a stress box down a slot. So you could do something like that, or you could
I like that better. That's very much more mechanically based for this.
Okay.
I like that.
All right, I chose 3 stunts, and none of them affect rolls, but it builds the character the way I want him.
Okay, let's hear them.
Okay, and if you don't like them, we'll change it. I did the first one as a grid power sink. That it's a passive draw of grid excess power. So at any point that he's on the grid, near a device, near a console or something like that, the spurious energy that would be lost as heat or light or whatever, he absorbs it. So it's just a reason that the other things happen. Then I got transfer stress. He can transfer stress to others or to himself or vice versa. That's where your one stress thing came up. So he could touch one character that's not injured, touch another character that is injured, and push one stress over. So rather than heal them, he can transfer the stress amongst them, including himself. He could give away his stress or take their stress on.
I like that.
And then because it goes along with the idea of taking in storage and putting storage out. And then the last one is reboot program once per session. And that's where he erases all of the stress or could, in theory, bring a character back. Now, I think that should probably, if he doesn't have direct access to the grid, that should probably cause him some injury of some sort, you know what I mean? But if he was actually able to tie into the grid and then touch the dying character program, then he could transfer it that way. But again, it doesn't affect any numbers. I don't really care about that, but it fits the character.
Okay, and yeah, like I'm definitely on board with removing the stress boxes, and then maybe if you want, you can have it to where you can actually revive a derez program, but it will cost you a fate point, and that's a once per session thing.
Fate point. I'll put that down there.
That'll help offset the power of it just a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's definitely breaking the cookie cutter mold, which is cool.
Can you apply more than one fate point to a situation?
Yes.
How about just as I don't see it coming up, but let's say it does, as a bartering thing here. Rather than having it once per session, I'll just line through that and I'll say cumulative fate points. So if I do it once, it's a fate point. I do it twice, it costs 2. If I do it 3 times, it costs 3.
That's beautiful. I like it.
I would also like to say, John, your first stunt is an aspect, not a stunt. It doesn't do anything. It's just a descriptive of your character. Like it's a perfect aspect.
I'll put it as a third aspect then. And you're not the boss of me.
Yes, I am.
So the stunt I came up with was using the stunt maker and its corruptive influence. Because I don't know if I should put because I was or because I am a virus.
Well, that's up to you.
Because I am a virus. When I make a sneaky attack, I can grant a 2 stress hit once per scene in close quarters combat, but granting an advantage against me.
Okay, so you're kind of leaving yourself exposed at the cost of being able to do a harder hit.
Like I have to touch them in order to do it, and that leaves me exposed in the process.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I like that. See if we can't find you 1 or 2 more that you're comfortable with that fit Avja's personality and kind of the way you envision playing him, her, whatever.
Him.
Him. Okay, cool. Are we all males? Is that something, an assumption I should make?
ALU is an it.
Yeah, I am numbers.
Numbers. Negative. I am a meat popsicle.
I'm a infinitely replicating series of numbers.
Cool,
I
cool.
look just like my user.
Can a stunt be a purely role-playing thing, or would that be an aspect?
It's probably more of an aspect, but I mean, you know, if you want to do something for the sake of RP, I am all over it.
Okay, I moved the grid sync over to a third aspect, and for the stunt, I took one off the top and just changed the wording. +3 to an action if in direct contact with a grid source. So he'd actually have to touch a live wire or stick his hands in a battery or something along those lines to gain the +3.
That would probably also cost a fate point.
And a fate point.
Usually, if it's just if it's an open-ended thing like that, where it's not specifically tied to an approach or, you know, specifically for overcoming or attacking or defending, then yeah, usually it comes with a cost of a fate point.
The wording of the fate, I'm not arguing, I'm just telling you what it said. It add +3 to a specific thing, block, moving, writing in code, doing something else, when you pay a fate point. Very good. Right on the money, dudes. I blew right past that. I didn't want to see it, I guess.
That's
Fate
why
point.
it takes multiple people.
I wrote it down.
Cool.
Fate point. Got it.
I had kind of maybe an idea for, I think it's Luke. Maybe because you are a retired ISO virus, you get a +2 when cleverly interacting with your former associates. So maybe,
like that.
you know, people like me, if you will, defense programs, you have an advantage against talking, worming your way out of whatever.
Yeah, sentries and security programs and things like that. That's really good, Baron. I like that.
I really just used the template because something, and Alex already said it earlier, because something, I get a +2 when I do something approachfully situation.
Approachfully, I am totally stealing that.
All of mine are in the exact format of this template because that's the only way I can get this.
It works.
So it'd be when because I am blank, I gain a +2 when I talk cleverly to people. Is that how I'd write it?
When you cleverly interact with security programs.
Okay.
Is probably how I would put it.
This game is all about wording. You might have the perfect idea, but you got to figure out how to say it, and it's hard.
And then when you're done making a character, you say, no, this does this. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
This does this, and I get a +2 because I wrote it down.
And I will go ahead and let all of you know that I'm the kind of GM that's going to reward you for making an in-character decision or story-based decision way before I'm going to grant you a mechanical benefit just because you want it. So that's how you're going to be able to appease my my generosity, if you want to put it that way. Cool. Well, it sounds like we are pretty much done. Ready to rock and roll.
I'm working on can you do 3 stunts or?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm working on a third one. I just gotta.
Sure. While you get into that, I'm going to go ahead and start going over stress boxes and consequences. At least my shaky understanding of how they work. And I know Sam DeMercurio, I think, is out there watching right now, and he's probably having a conniption fit. And I apologize, Sam, but So stress boxes. You have 3 stress boxes: a 1 stress box, a 2 stress box, and a 3 stress box. Anytime that you are hit and you take shifts of damage, it'll be kind of looming over you, and you get to decide where it goes into your stress boxes. So if you have 2 shifts of damage coming at you, but your 2 stress box is filled, then you would have to choose to put that in your number 3 stress box, or move it over to consequences, which we'll get into in just a moment. You can always put a smaller shift of damage into a larger stress box. That may be a more eloquent way of putting it. So, once you are out of stress boxes, or if you begin taking shifts of damage that your stress boxes can't contain, then it goes into your consequences, of which I believe there are also 3. I think it's a -2, a -4, and a -6, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
I think that's correct. And effectively, what those are is stress boxes have no mechanical detriment to the things that you attempt to do. They're just there as kind of a buffer. And once you start taking consequences, those are actual penalties to, I think, anything that you accomplish or try to accomplish.
It's actually, you can tag our things to give us minuses to our rolls.
Oh, I tag the consequences similar to like your trouble?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Cool. That's good to know. Thank you. So yes. So at any point, if I think that it warrants it, the circumstances, you have you lost part of your arm in a disc battle, and you're trying to do something that is very obviously two-handed, I can invoke one of your consequences because I think it would be applicable. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. All right. Luke, the floor's yours. What you got?
All right. What I had down was you are not in control because I am self-aware. Okay, my meta awareness aspect. I create an advantage that takes a fair roll to remove when I invoke my meta awareness once per scene when interacting with enemy programs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do not. I'm not good enough to know what fair is as far as like the bonus level.
I think it's
like a
plus 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was going to go with on my hunch, but good to know that the actual number. Cool. Okay, so do you guys feel prepared? Do you feel ready?
Okay, I have my last stunt. Cognitive systems. I can get +2 when I cleverly overcome. Because I have a cognitive system, I can sit and think about things quick enough to figure out what I should do.
Cool. Works for me. All right. Well, then, if you lads are ready, then we'll go ahead and get this show officially started. For those of you who have sat through this character creation process, I thank you very, very much. I know sometimes that is not the easiest stuff to chew through, but I appreciate it, and hopefully it'll be well rewarded here. So, here we go. The grid. A digital frontier is what he called it. Our methods of travel, light cycles and light jets, even the recognizers, are simply clusters of information, he would say. He was even surprised that we referred to our roadways as circuits. He, the first user, the one known as the creator, Kevin Flynn. He told me once that he had always dreamed of our grid, saying it was a world that he thought he would never see. until the one day that he got in. And everywhere he looked, all he saw was beauty and wonder. If only he had also seen the danger. The Creator is gone, many believing that he abandoned us in this, our darkest hour. Tron is dead. The ISOs have been wiped out. And all that remains is Clue, the program left in charge by Kevin Flynn himself. But even in the dark, lightning flashes so brightly that it could blind you. Revolution. We find ourselves on the grid, a place of black glass and blue lines. A place that is at once clean, but also dark and mysterious. Rain falls from the sky that doesn't contain a single cloud. And when lightning flashes, there's almost just too orderly of a pattern as it cascades downward. We hear the roar of a crowd as we fly over the top of the city. A multitude of buildings sweeping beneath us, not unlike the features of the interior of a computer. We come upon an arena, a large circular structure, teeming with programs, centered around an opening in the middle, a flat, featureless place. And a number of programs stand out in the center, condemned to these games, these crapshoots of life and death. We see 10 programs split up into 2 different groups of 5, separated only by a short distance. Alex, what is the first program that we see? What does it look like?
ALU is, you can see there's a constant flow of stuff into him, like energy into him, and a constant flow out as he processes data all around him. I have a picture of him. You can see him. He's crackling with energy. He is not supposed to be free roaming. He is supposed to be connected up to a series of other things and basically just a slave to the machine. But he was liberated, and now he plans to go out and liberate everywhere else. He is a true revolutionary.
And that would be why he has found himself in these games now. And what does S.H.I.E.L.D. look like, Baron? And why is he in these games?
The program that the crowd would see is a very bulky, I guess he's not bulky. He's very thick in the torso and arms and upper body, but very thin legs. He skipped leg day. He is a defense protocol unit. He is basically the security guards that everyone's used to seeing, except for at some point in the recent history, he has either come in contact with a malicious program or some sort of trauma that has warped his programming and made him less than a faceless cog in the system. And, well, that's just no good for a security bot, so they decided to ship me here to the arena.
Excellent. And Brandish, what do they see when they look at Drive? And what has landed Drive here?
Well, visually, standing amongst his fellow programs, Drive is an older generation of program, 32-bit. And where others seem sort of flawless, rigid, maybe even sort of formulaic in their movements, Drive is very casual. He kind of shifts his weight around, kind of looks around, scratches at the back of his neck, and takes a look at the opposition, says, these guys are all chumps. I've heard the games are buggy as hell. We'll be out of here in a few cycles. Buckle up, kiddies.
Perfect. And John, whenever they see ISO, what is it that he looks like, and what's wound him up here?
ISO steps out, and he's huge. First thing anyone notices that he's nearly twice the mass of any other mundane programs, and a full 2 heads above most. Deep purples and blues flow through a matrix throughout his outer body. He has no distinct features other than the cryptic patterns that are dictated by his mood and thought processes. And the reason he's here is because he lost the ability to transfer data properly and is classified as broken.
So he has come here to get recycled, it sounds like. So, last but not least, Luke, what does the crowd see whenever they look at Abja, and why is he here?
When the crowd sees Abja, there are boos and hisses. His image is just something that just sparks hatred just by looking at him. And when you look at him, he is an outdated system, an outdated program. He even though the ground and the other programs in the crowd have the black glass appearance, he is still it could be described as white merging with black, because he has elements of newer programming intermixed with his older programming. But why he is here in the arena is purely for the fact that Clue is a manipulative individual, and having someone who used to be used by him still around would not be advantageous to him.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Tying up loose ends. So, the 10 of you, a short distance apart, each of you holding a baton in your hand, one that you know you can use to call forth a light cycle. You know it has been limited to simply a light cycle because you were told as much as you were handed this baton, this sleek, black, thin piece of glass almost. And just about the time that you're getting ready to annihilate these other 5 programs, a voice, disembodied, booms out throughout the arena. Programs, welcome to the games. Tonight, for your pleasure, we have Urban Assault. And all around you, almost instantaneously, streaks of light shoot through the air at odd angles and begin forming buildings, multi-storied, garages that have ramps, openings, doorways, things to duck behind and jump over, all of which you can see through as if smoky glass. But they provide blockers, things you can hopefully use to protect yourself against the coming battle. The other 5 individuals begin to react, start summoning their cycles into existence, much the same as many of you might be. And just about the time that you're ready to engage, you see two other programs enter the arena. These programs trimmed with orange. And they are not simply walking into the arena, nor are they riding into the arena on light cycles. No, these two individuals have entered the arena at the helm of two light tanks. The voice booms out, "Begin!" What would you like to do?
Do we also have our discs?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Anybody? Oh, anybody want to take the helm here, or? I guess that leaves it to me. I picture that this scenario in particular is something that they throw at the defense protocol units in like a training sequence that they'd have to go through. So maybe I kind of throw my arm up in like a defensive manner and try and call out to the guys. Let's go at this strategically. Let's get some cover. They got tanks. And in my mind, I guess you can kind of see it in my overlay. The light circles on my arms, they will ultimately produce like a shield-like effect. I'm not so much the brute security guard as I am a protective. What's the word I'm looking for? Riot shield. That's what I am. So throwing that up, getting the guys behind me, trying to assess our situation.
Right on, Shield. Good idea. Maybe I can draw some fire. So, Jeremy, can I just punch this fucker? See which generational light cycles we're dealing with here?
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I love about a light cycle is you can just drop it and punch it to max throttle instantaneously. So I'll pick my longest run out that's a straight line that's uninterrupted and wheelie that fucker. I don't think you can wheelie in a light cycle. I've never seen that, but hell, it's worth a try.
Why not? So yeah, you're able to open it up and you just streak out, not putting behind you the ribbon of light that you know that you can have access to should you choose, with a small flip of the wrist. But you go just as fast as you can, and these things are fast. Now, they're definitely not as fast as the original cycles that Flynn created, but they are very, very fast. They're definitely much faster than a light tank.
Cool, yeah. So I just want to be the first sort of horse out of the gate so I can take that tank attention and leave my newfound homies to maybe do some work back there while I streak.
Wait, are we supposed to be fighting the tanks or the other people?
You get the impression that it's probably the tanks.
Oh. Well, that changes everything.
Anybody else have anything that they want to do in the immediate?
Can I communicate with the other ones over there? Maybe tap into the neural network?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to tell the other ones. I'm just going to give basic kind of, we should do this, we should do that. Like, we should form over here. We should try and flank on the sides. Because if they split their attention, then we can focus one down. And I'm going to try and quickly create the advantage flanked.
Okay, excellent.
ISO's been taking it all in while everybody's acting, and he's been watching the tanks and checking their positions. Where the two tanks are, is there open areas to either side?
Yeah, it's not like a massive area that they're in. They're kind of basically on a city street. So if you would just picture, for all intents and purposes, a downtown city, scope of maybe 4 or 5 blocks in any direction, and they're more or less kind of straight dead smack in these streets. So there is some open space on the sides, but not like large open lots, if you will.
When in movement, always try to position yourself so that the tanks are overlapping. That way only one can shoot. That way if the other one tries to shoot, it has to shoot through the other tank. And he'll pop his light cycle on and head to define that particular thing, heading towards one side or the other.
I got a 6 on my roll to try and create an advantage.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So the tanks definitely start immediately dividing their attention as you start splitting up and heading in different directions. Anybody else have anything that they're doing right out of the gate?
I guess just to add to mine, I guess I didn't realize we were going up solely against the tanks at this moment in time. I also hopped on my light cycle. Definitely didn't gun it by any means, but I'm kind of like a light bubble moving.
Excellent. Okay. So, yeah, these 2 tanks have divided their attention, one of which is definitely following Drive as he's streaking by on his light cycle. And he is going to attempt a shot between 2 buildings. So let's see how that works out for him. Okay, so how are you trying to defend yourself from this blast, Drive? What approach would you like to enact in order to avoid getting hit?
Well, in this case, I'd have to go with the moment rather than what's going to be best. I think this is hilarious because of my stupid build, but I'm actually driving flashy right now. I want to make sure they keep shooting at me. So if I can sense that I'm being targeted, then I'll like power slide into the end of one of these street spaces, give him the broadside of the bike and give him a hell of a good shot. Basically banking that he's going to miss so that I can rub it in his face.
Fair enough. Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to roll your 4 dice, and you're going to use those as adjustments to whatever it is that you have in your flashy.
All right, I have 1 in flashy. Hey, I got a plus and 2 minuses, so I guess that I'm at even 0.
You have a plus and 2 minuses, and then it was a
plus
1
on flashy.
Okay, so yeah, just a 0, and he ended up scoring a 4.
Oh!
On his forceful. So what that means is that he did in fact hit, and you have 4 shifts of damage coming your direction.
So I need a consequence then, right out of the bat here.
Or if you can think of something from your stunts or aspects that you can invoke that might soften that, then you can do so.
For example, I just created an advantage that I'm pretty sure has 2 free invokes. They're flanked, so they couldn't aim at you very well.
Yep, you could absolutely invoke that if you'd like by spending a fate point.
Actually, I succeeded well enough. There should be a free invoke.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. Is it just simply 1, or is it?
I don't know what the DC was going to be. I got a total of a 6.
Which is pretty high.
I don't know how much you have to get to succeed with style. I don't remember.
Okay, we'll say that there's 1 free usage, and then the other one will cost a fate point to enact. So, without spending a fate point, you may choose to enact that the scene aspect, if you would like, Brandish.
So he was flanked by our whole little crew.
Mm-hmm.
So he took his shot, and did he still hit, just not as hard, or did he miss?
Yeah, so what that'll do is it's a +2, I believe, Alex.
Yeah, it's a +2.
Yeah. So what that'll do is that'll drop his. It'll basically raise your roll, so you end up with a 2 instead of a 0. So now it's only 2 shifts of damage.
Great. So I'll just pick up.
Yeah, you can choose to put that in your stress box if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll eat it because the whole design here was just to let him take his best shot and then to run right at him. So I'll just take the hits.
Cool. So it probably wasn't a direct hit. What probably happened is he probably hit the corner of the nearest building to you, and literally the chunks from that, as it's kind of derezing and turning into small cubes as it falls to the ground, just rain down on top of you.
Great. These newfangled systems, they're all top.
All right. So the other tank has split its attention from where its counterpart is focusing, and it is going to roll over and try to see if it can't get a shot at you, Shield.
You're muted, brother.
I guess I wasn't here when Brandish got hit. What am I rolling?
So what you need to do is you need to describe how you're trying to avoid this attack using one of your approaches, ideally.
Okay. Well, rather than avoid the attack, it's definitely not Shield style. He's going to invoke his action. Oh, not his action. I'm sorry. His high concept defense protocol unit. I'm designed to take the hit. So, though I'm the one taking the damage, maybe per se, someone else was the target, and I kind of just bobbed my bubble cycle in between them, and I'm taking it. And whether or not my shields protect me, I guess, is the role I'm making. So, a careful?
Yeah, I would say that probably falls under careful.
If you're just trying to soak it, it might be forceful.
That would also make sense to me as well.
Yeah. Player's choice.
All right, so I got a +2 if we're going forceful.
All right, so you just let them take the hit, and the shot comes, but it only comes at a 1. So it glances off of this light shield that you've used to kind of encapsulate, you and your light bike. All right.
And I kind of just picture that as like the manifestation of my light disc. Like everyone else's is kind of the thrown weapon. Mine is shield.
Nice. I like it. Okay. So that's the tanks. How about you guys? What is it that you're doing now?
I'm going to try and get on the tank.
Okay, so you're going to drive over towards it and try to get onto it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's buildings, right? So I'm going to try and drive up a building, get on a ramp, and jump it onto the thing.
Excellent. Okay. So that sounds like it might be flashy.
It might be. I was hoping it was quick, but it might be flashy.
It sounds like ramp jumping is probably more flashy than quick. Quick.
It definitely is.
Straight there.
It definitely is flashy. Well, that's 2. It's only a 2. Because I have +0.
Still not bad. Still not bad. Okay. So yeah, it's you have a choice between 2 ramps at one point, and you choose the one that's a little more shallow. That way the jump's not quite as big. But you do manage to get some airtime, fly through the air, and unsummon your light cycle. And as you kind of fly through the air, the tank is kind of turning its turret, trying to trace one of the other people, doesn't even see you, as you just land directly on the top of it.
Great, perfect.
Who's up next?
I think it's Shield. Do we have an order?
Yeah.
Not really. Maybe we can determine one if you guys are more comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've kind of went two times already. If someone else wants to get their 2 cents in.
At the point ISO passes a building or a structure or something along those lines, he's immediately going to pop off his bike and take a standing position behind it and then creep around and take a look, hoping that they're only tracking fast movement so that he can take it all in and see if he can find some sort of weakness or way out by doing so.
So what you're saying is you're carefully creating an advantage by scoping out the situation?
That's exactly what I said.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and roll that careful roll up for me? We'll see how much of an advantage you're able to create.
Here we go. Let's see. And I'm rolling. And let's see, we got a -2. I have a 3, so I'm at +2.
Okay. So it sounds like you've noticed that the two tanks are definitely focusing their attention, as of right now at least, on both drive and shield. So for the moment, it looks like their attention is divided enough that they haven't really paid much attention to those of you who are still on foot. And the building that you kind of duck inside of and are using for partial cover so that you can now see, you find inside 2 of the other programs that were in the other group of 5. And they pretty much look like they're kind of cowering in here.
Very well. Are there do they have a form or a structure to them, or some sort of identifier that we could I could figure out what kind of program they were by their shape and form?
They definitely look like they're more clerical in nature, definitely not physical type programs.
He's going to try to give them confidence by giving them something to do that's fairly safe. All right, come here, you two. You need to stand by the door just enough so that you can see and observe. See if you can see anything useful for us. But don't worry, I'm here to protect you.
Are you sure? Those are tanks. It's not going to take anything at all for them to kill us.
The tanks are looking for movement, and we are quietly and out of sight. They've got more fast and pertinent things to deal with right now. So just focus on the task at hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just stand by the door, right?
Stand by the door.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. And they kind of get up and kind of hesitantly do approach. Okay. Who's next?
That would be me. So Abja has basically watched the other programs kind of go out and seeing this tank combat. He decides to activate his light cycle. However, because he has an outdated software program, his light cycle is literally a 1st gen. So he gets into it, and then he basically starts going forward and making 90-degree turns in a way to not get hit and survive. See if he can survive just long enough to. He's trying to cleverly gain an advantage, I think the term would be.
Okay, so maybe you are extruding your light ribbon out behind you. The light ribbon comes out almost liquidy. It almost looks like a liquid that then immediately becomes tangible light. It becomes an actual physical object. And it's very possible that if you put enough of it between you and one of these tank blasts, that it may not actually penetrate all the way through them and get to you.
Mm-hmm. Like a wall.
Yes, exactly. Okay, cool. So it sounds like you want to make a careful roll to see how much of a buffer you can put between you and one of these tanks.
All right. So I get a fair on that.
So a +2?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, you feel fairly confident that you've put enough of these back and forth 90-degree walls in between you and the tank that it's going to take some doing to get past it. So I think that brings us to drive.
All right. Cool maneuver, Abja. So I'm going to take a cue from him and very quickly rip down his light trail and try to follow it pixel for pixel, right? Tighter and tighter and tighter going to the tank. Throttle it to the max. Right before I reach the tank, flip on my trail and pull a power slide around that tank and box him in. Hopefully, if the tank is moving or just try to get as tight as I can, as fast as I can, and box him up real quick, turn my light back off, and kind of come out to a stop. So a quick maneuver, that's 3 plus the roll here. Oh, God, it's horrible. So I'm sitting on a 2 total. God, that's awful. I'm new here.
Yeah, these bikes, they just don't respond the way that they should. You know, they're definitely of a new design, and you miss your old one. But you get the job done. You know, you get a box kind of made around this thing, this tank. Were you going after the one that had shot at you, or the one that...
Definitely.
Okay, excellent. So it's now kind of boxed in, we'll say on 3 sides, with a building on its 4th side. And it definitely notices this trail, and it looks like it kind of comes to a stop, like it doesn't want to enact directly with the trail that you've left behind. Okay, I think that's all of the PCs. Okay, so the first thing that you guys notice is one of the other programs comes leaping out of a 2nd-story window very near to where Drive just did this, and lands also on top of the tank. And he looks over to Drive and says, "We want to take one of these tanks. I'm pretty sure that I can override it. We can use it against the other one."
Is he on the same tank as me or the other one?
The opposite one from you. No, you know what? No, let's do the same tank. Yeah, the two of you just landed beside you. He says this to both you and to Drive, as Drive is kind of zooming by. Okay. And the other tank, the one that does not have 2 programs on it, the one that is not boxed in, the one that has been focusing on shield, continues to do so. It makes its way more down the street, kind of trying to trace his movement through the buildings and such. And then it's going to take another fire at him. And if you would, Baron, go ahead and describe how it is that you'd like to try to avoid this fire again.
So I don't think this one is as anticipated as the first one. I still think I'm going to carefully kind of, instead of having my full bubble, maybe ascertain the exact location of this strike and kind of focus my shield energy on this particular spot. So instead of, you see like the shimmer of my shield kind of derezing to a smaller, thicker, opaque light as this strike, you know, makes contact and ripples into this solid light.
Okay, go ahead and roll it up. Let's see what you got.
I got 2 pluses, 1 minus. I got a +4.
Excellent. It had a 3. So, by the skin of your teeth, yet again, Shield, you take this round straight to your namesake and are able to just effectively shrug it off as if it's nothing. You know, just a tank round, no big deal.
I
The
do this every day.
yeah, the crowd is going absolute bananas over this. The fact that you have taken not one but two direct hits from a tank, and you're still rolling around.
I think that at this moment, the impact kind of flickers my color. I'm usually a standard yellow, but I went a ghostly, I want to say blue, very uncharacteristic of a sentry, and that's where the crowd kind of sees my malfunction. They're like, oh, so that's why he's here. He's faulty. And maybe that's when the hype dies down a bit. They're less inclined to like me.
Excellent. I like
Yeah,
it.
but all the rebels in the crowd are like, yeah. I mean, yeah. What they said.
Did you say I could take a fate point, Jeremy? Was that what that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just reiterated in the chat.
All right, and I'm just gonna clarify for anybody watching that was just me invoking my trouble.
Yes, sir. Excellent. Okay. So, who's up next?
ISO is going to.
Actually, I think it was the tank's turn.
Fair enough.
We only got hit by
the
one.
second tank. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So, the boxed-in tank.
So the tanks are done, and we are kind of doing a little bit of an order.
A little bit. Yeah, I'm mainly just doing PCs and then the bad guys kind of in a block. So, yeah, so the one tank that was focused on shield did fire, but the second one that's boxed in, yeah, he did not take an action in this round. So he is actually going to pivot his turret to the building where this other program just jumped out of and aimed about as high as he can. And he's going to shoot just beneath the very top of this building in order to try to bring some of it down on top of all of you. So what I'd like to hear is how Alu and Drive, how you're going to try to get out of the way of this collapsing building.
I'm going to try and scrabble to the other side of the tank so that anything that was going to hit me would have to go through the tank because I'm on the other side.
Sounds quick to me.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because I don't really have any defensive things. I don't got a shield or nothing.
Oh yeah, it works.
I got a 2.
You got a me? What are you doing?
I don't have a you. You're not with me. You're over there getting shot at.
I'll be your shield man.
All right. So we've got Alu's approach. And how about Drive?
Well, if
How's he gonna try to
I
handle
think I will evoke solve it with throttle. And can I forcefully, like, maybe, I mean, these newer systems are easy to futz with. Can I flip a few internal switches, maybe run a bypass or something, and like overclock this thing and burn it out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, can I basically use whatever power is left in the light cycle in one push and just basically laser underneath the debris and just kind of ghost the bike?
Absolutely. That sounds like a fantastic way to try to handle it from
So
a
forceful
perspective.
2, and I came up dead on the roll. So I'm just sitting on 2 and evoking an aspect.
So invoking an aspect typically grants you a +2.
Okay, cool. Then
Yeah.
I'm sitting on 4 total.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can aspect
excellent.
cost a fate point, and then you get +2 to whatever you're doing, or you can reroll dice. It's important to know if you get all negatives, you can reroll your dice.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah,
I'll burn the fate point for now since I already marked it, but that's a good one. Thanks, Alex.
All right. So he totaled out of 4, which means that Drive, you are just barely going to be able to eke out from the edge of this debris as it comes crashing down. And Alu, what was your total again? You had a 2?
I got a 2. Is
2.
there is boxed in something I can wasn't it advantage that was created?
Uh, for this particular situation, I don't think so because the debris is coming from up top.
Oh, well, I was going to invoke that it wasn't able to aim very well because it doesn't have the ability to pivot correctly.
Again, the wall's fairly low. It's only probably about 4 feet in height or so.
All right, I'll spend a
But-
fate point and invoke parity bit and say I realized what I was going to do was wrong and I moved to a better location.
Okay, excellent. And that'll give you a +2, yeah?
Yeah.
Good deal. So likewise, you will be able to position yourself better. You almost do almost a glitch kind of slip is kind of almost the way I see it. You start moving in the direction you first intended, and then all of a sudden this kicks in and you kind of jolt over to the side and end up in a slightly different position. Likewise, covering you from the debris as this kind of crashes down all around you. It just makes this gargantuan pile of debris. However, the light ribbon that was left behind by Drive has been mostly shattered by this debris as it's kind of collapsed down on it. And it's just now kind of just a small little jagged trail close to the ground. So that was the 2 tanks. Now, John, if you would like to take ISO's turn, you may do so.
ISO's been standing by, and there's a couple of his aspects and his high concept and his trouble that are in question here. But I think mostly, all right, before I do the aspect part of it, because you use your aspect with a fate point to gain +2, how does the trouble come into effect? Do you call it in, or do I?
It's usually something that I choose to invoke. And in doing so, you can agree to let me invoke it in exchange for a fate point. Or you can deny me invoking it for the cost of a fate point.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, the one that makes the most sense for me is the aspect of the lost courier. Forbidden or hidden data that's locked deep within him, and he has trace connection with it. So he's going to use that, and he's going to ask the 2 programs that are with him, again in a means to distract them, let me borrow 1 disk and 1 byte controller. And he's going to take these 2 items in hand, and he's going to scan the data pad that he's got in him and see if the connection with the calm connection with them, if he can find some data, maybe some blueprints on them. The idea being that maybe he can tie the 2 of them together to create an unstable bomb, a grid bomb. So I'm looking at clever. It costs me a fate point if this all makes sense, and then +2 towards the roll for the data for the lost courier.
Yeah, man, I love it.
All right. So I took the fate point. So that's 3 for clever and 2 for the lost courier. So that's +5. And my die roll is rolling them now. It came out at a +2, so that's +7. So he has 7.
Yeah, so that is a disgusting bomb. You just made one hell of a thing on the fly. And these 2 programs kind of watching you do it, one of them kind of eeks almost. He's like, my disc, what did you do?
So I stuck it in there. It looks like a mushroom in the disc. Is it stable or unstable?
You know what? With a 7, I'm going to say it's unstable as shit. Because that's a big, nasty bomb.
Okay. Well, then he's going to get on his bike when his action provides, and he's going to do a quick move to head straight for the nearest tank, weaving, doing the zigzag to avoid contact kind of thing.
Excellent. Okay. So, yeah, what I'll say is that you're able to more or less make this and then kind of crack open the baton that you have to get your light cycle out and basically mount up. And then next turn, you'll be able to head out. Cool.
Done and done.
All right. Who's next?
LU is going to notice that the other guy next to him said he's going to hack into it. So what I'm going to do is going to take in a bunch of raw, random garbage data and force it into it to try and create an advantage for him so that the disadvantage for the tank is overloaded systems.
Okay, so yeah, I imagine you're probably starting to kind of gather up these cubes of what once was building just a moment ago and kind of gather it into a shape, maybe even like a physical weapon that you can then kind of jam into the hatch that's going to maybe provide access to the internals of this tank.
Yeah, I was picturing more like he's coming out of his hand is more like a knife of just pure, it's almost like light from the light cycles, but it's just pure raw data.
Yeah, excellent.
So I'm going to roll for that.
Yeah, roll that up.
That's probably clever, right? No, it's probably forceful.
I would say it sounds pretty forceful to me.
3. It's allowed to defend when I try and create an advantage. Okay, yeah, you're rolling.
Yeah, these things are definitely tough. So it ended up with a forceful of 3.
All right, we tied. I'll look up what tying means.
Okay. So while Alex is graciously doing that, who's next?
Okay, it's there, and it can be used once, but then it can never be used again. It's gone.
Roger that.
I don't mind going next.
Go for it.
So Abja will. He's been trying to imagine. I'm trying to imagine the layout of this place in my head. So it's like 3 stories, and there's like streets. I guess. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, essentially, you're kind of looking at what in any other place would be a downtown, a chunk of downtown. It's grid blocks with buildings that are multiple stories high. Not all of them are the same. And then there's streets that are probably, I don't know, 30, 40 feet wide, that have roughly sidewalks that run alongside them, all that kind of stuff. But all of the buildings are made out of kind of a semi-opaque glass.
All right. Question about how light cycles work. Can
Sure.
I drive a light cycle up a vertical surface?
You might be able to, depending on what you roll. Yeah.
It's
going to be something that's difficult to do, but you could certainly try to pull it off.
Okay, I would. Abja is going to maneuver his vehicle to try and get his light cycle to travel up the wall of the building. He's only ever heard of someone ever doing this before. He's never actually tried it himself. Probably because he's avoided the arena for the most part. But he's in mechanics terms, he's going to carefully maneuver the bike up the wall.
Okay. So you'll kind of timidly move up to the wall and try to see if you can't figure out how this is going to work. So what you'll need to do now, unless you're going to invoke some kind of aspect or try to call upon one of your stunts, then this will just be a straight careful roll.
No, that wouldn't. None of my stunts would work. I don't know if one of my aspects would work here, but I'm thinking spending a fate point to use my meta awareness aspect to consider that if I'm a program, then I could, risking my life isn't as necessarily as important as I thought it would, as I think it would be.
I would
Or
like to point out you don't need to invoke if you succeed.
Okay.
Like, don't waste a fate point until you know you're going to fail and then evoke.
Okay. All right. So I'll do the careful. Yeah. So careful is +2, and that is 3 blanks and a minus.
okay, so it's a net -1. What did you have in careful?
+2.
Okay, so you're sitting at a 1 right now. Knowing that this is probably going to be a pretty difficult thing to do, you may want to go ahead and burn that fate point.
Yep, I'm gonna burn a fate point and.
Okay, so you invoke your meta knowledge that you are in fact a program that'll lend you a +2 to your result for a total of 3. And I would say you might even call on the knowledge that this is all just done through lines of code. And if that theory holds true, then it should be easy to manipulate. It should be easy to break the laws of physics, what they would be called in other places. A 3 is going to get you there, just barely. So you start at the side of this building, and the bike kind of starts to slide down, and you're kind of having to maneuver it to gain altitude as you're kind of driving along the side of this and avoiding the windows and openings along its side. Well done. Okay. Who's next?
I think I might be up to being around to being up. So I think I just derezed my bike because I overclocked it and my bike is toast. So if I'm back on foot, is there a way to assess sort of how the crowd is watching us? Like, what kind of entrances and exits does this sort of arena space have? Like, how confined are we, I suppose? I would like to cleverly try to assess, like, is there a wall that we can get after? Is there an exit we could jump to? Is there some kind of limit to this space that we can use to get the fuck out? Can I roll on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So there's 2 on that, and that's all I got. So 2 on this roll. Holy. Looks like net. So I got 3 total.
Yeah, looking around, you don't see any kind of exits or entrances here on the arena floor. And the wall down here is probably close to 12, 15 feet high. It's a pretty daunting barrier. And you know that your light discs and the tank rounds and things of that nature have been coated in such a way that they cannot damage the exterior of the arena to prevent exactly what you're thinking of trying to do.
Well, then, as I figure that out, then I guess I'll just look up to the crowd, hoping that they recognize me in some way. Are you entertained?
Absolutely. And they are. They respond in kind, raising their voices and their hands to the sky. You may have a fate point, sir. Who's next?
I feel like I haven't gone in a minute. So I've taken 2 rounds from tanks. I think what would have gotten my attention is ISO kind of coming out from behind cover on his bike. I guess what probably catches my attention is his bike's going more my speed than drive speed. And I think I'm going to kind of position myself in a way that I'm closer to ISO, so throwing something over me wouldn't be difficult, but still getting in between him and the tanks.
So, still trying to draw its attention on you,
Yeah.
and trying to position yourself in such a way that maybe it'll get a little closer to where ISO is with his big nasty bomb, but not necessarily put his attention on him.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is
Maybe I turn my lights a little brighter on myself.
sounds like you're
Yeah.
flashily creating the advantage of distracted.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. Sounds like that would be logical. All right. So I got a -1. But I'm going to invoke my aspect to give me a +2 man of action, instinctual. So maybe this wasn't me thinking about it. It's me just kind of old militaries or defense protocol simulation, get a buddy. Operation Get a Buddy. So that's what I got. That
All
would
right.
put me at a +1.
+1 for the cost of a fate point, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So, with a +1, let's see if this this tank driver falls for this. He has a 1. So, you will succeed, barely. And he does continue to track you. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I guess then to finish, offset from ISO's speeder or light bike, or I guess somewhere, I'm just going to end my turn with my positioning, just getting the attention of this tank.
Sure. Yeah, you managed to, kind of put a building, in between where you are and where ISO is. So that way it's got, a little bit of cover just in case this tank does send one in your direction.
Yeah.
ISO's not probably likely to take anything from it.
That's just the focus of my attention right now is he's got something in his hand.
Yeah, and I'm cool with you guys having, some form of short-range communication, kind of built into the helmets that you're wearing and things of that nature. Okay. So, on the tank, where Alu is, the other program looks over to him and he tells him that I'm part of the resistance. We're taking one of these tanks out of here, but I need your help.
Acknowledged.
Excellent. The name's Deedon. And he's going to start getting to work on the advantage that you were creating for him.
And he can use my advantage for +2. So whatever you rolled, +2.
Excellent. Okay. So, the knife that you have kind of extended from your hand, this pure energy blade, you kind of drive it down into the top of this tank. And right about where the hatch meets the body, you're able to kind of wedge it in there and start cutting or prying. And there's almost like magma, this orange liquid kind of shoots off, but as it's still in the air, it turns into small little tiny cubes, pixelated, and tumbles across the top of this tank, almost like small bits of metal as they kind of clatter away. And as you kind of do so, and you make this kind of jagged, pixeled, square-edged cut where the tank body and the hatch meet, Deedon comes in and kind of puts his fingers and his hands down into this crevice that you've created with the knife. and then begins to fiddle around and finally manages to undo the latch and throws this hatch open, exposing the driver inside of this tank, who kind of stops and looks up at you and starts to reach for the disc on his back.
And I'm going to say I was using the broken building to channel my thing, and since it can only be invoked once ever, I'm going to say the power that I was using to make this blade is gone, and so the blade goes away and it just snaps back shut. Just as he gets his finger out.
Yeah, he kind of jumps back as it kind of slams down, and you kind of hear a thunk on the inside of the hatch, if you will. Okay, who's next?
ISO gets on his bike and he blasts straight for the tank that does not have the individuals on it, because he had been observing it and watching what was going on.
Absolutely, especially with the two programs who were helping. Okay,
exactly.
So it sounds like you're going to try to get there before this tank can try to do something about it.
Exactly.
So what do you got on your quick?
My quick is a 1, unfortunately, but my thought was to invoke a stunt. Can he use, the idea would be to reach in to the source of the bike itself and draw the energy off the bike, therefore depleting the bike at the end of the run. He would tumble off. The idea would be it would just enough to get there, and then the bike would be depleted, and the scepter would be just a hollow vessel at that point to invoke his grid surge. I'd have to use a fate point, but it would allow him to have a +3 for this one action by sucking all the juice out of an object from the grid.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just wanted to use it for the game, because you never know how long it's going to last. I want to try to get it out there and see how it plays out.
Absolutely, go for it.
All right, so he's got the 1 for quick, but he gets the +3 for the action, and it costs a fate point. So let me take that. So he has a total of a 4. And the die roll is 3 pluses and a blank. So 3 +3 and +4. So that's +7. I think, right? Yeah, +7.
Excellent. So
blank doesn't take away. Blank doesn't take away 1, right?
No, it does not.
Yeah. Okay.
It 7 at all. Excellent. So, as previously stated, these tanks are incredibly tough.
I have a level 7 bomb.
Yes, you do. And it just got a 7 on its defense. So that means you managed to bypass it just barely. So it's not going to get time to respond. As you drive up, and in the last moment possible, deactivate your light cycle and absorb the energy from it, as the baton hollowly kind of clatters to the floor and just slides out of the way. And you've got this bomb made of another baton and some poor user's disk, or not user, some poor program's disk. How do you deliver this payload to this tank?
Well, if it's a classic tank, I didn't figure it was going to blow it up, so I was hoping to disable it. So whichever makes the most sense, to either throw it into the lower section and stop all mobility, the idea of it, or to toss it up to where the turret is and perhaps jam up the turret so it can't turn anymore. Whichever one you feel would be a more appropriate target.
I think the joint between the turret and the body would probably be a higher priority. Disabling its ability to shoot as opposed to its ability to move.
So if the tank is a risen sort of tank, then I guess he's going to slide underneath it, and in the process of underneathing it, throw it up and over, and hopefully come out the other end.
Beautiful. Yeah, and the ground is little more than like black glass. So you do just slide almost with no traction whatsoever completely underneath this tank and right out the other side, and just kind of casually lob this explosive up in between the where the turret and the body of the tank meet. And did you have this set on some kind of timer, or did you activate it with a delay?
We already established that it was unstable, so I suspect it's going to go off as soon as it hits.
Okay, so yeah, just give it a little oomph so there's an actual impact whenever it collides with the body. So you do so, and it does explode. And what's the color of the explosion, John? Is it your color?
I would say probably not, because it was based on whatever that program's, the pair of the programs, and that they were cowards. I'm going to say they're probably yellow. So it's probably
Okay.
a yellow bomb.
Fair enough. Yeah, so this explosion of yellow happens, and you think you might be able to hear that program whimper as his disc is just obliterated. And the tank turret just starts to instantly be dissected into a grid, as all the way down the length of its turret, it just starts turning into cubes and derezing and just showering down on top of the body of this tank, completely disappearing and leaving nothing but kind of a jagged, pixelated base where it had been connected before. As you slide out the other side coolly, you may have yourself a fate point, sir. That was most excellent. Who's next?
I'll go. So my character was escorting mildly ISO to deliver this bomb. So maybe now my attention is, how close were these together?
The two tanks?
Yes.
Probably not super close. Probably about 100 yards or so.
Okay. And I don't remember exactly where ISO said he ended his turn, sliding out the other side.
Yeah, he's basically right next to the tank that he just disabled.
Okay. And nobody has come out of this tank at all.
Not as
So
of yet.
I think my character would kind of get up towards the hatch with just his thick arm ready to bop someone when they come out to see what's going on.
Okay, so yeah, you just kind of come streaking up on your bike and kind of slide to a stop right next to the tank.
Yep. And kind of just throw myself up there and get ready. I guess I don't know if anyone's going to come out, but yeah, I'm just going to get ready to either open the door or smash it open, or smash who comes out.
Okay, that works for me. And we haven't heard from Drive in a little while. What's he up to?
I've just been trying to think about our space here. So the turret blew off this thing, and now we just have a car with no roof on it, basically, is what's left of it, right? There's a cockpit with an open top.
Yep.
Well, my colleagues are definitely handling things with impunity and style over there. So I think I'm going to turn to the crowd. And if I noticed at least a few dozen programs recognized me, I'm going to use that to my advantage and try to stir them up and basically take a step onto one of these chunks of debris that I narrowly escaped and just kind of engage this crowd and say, we're all going to ride out of here on whatever's left of these pieces of junk. If you want to pile on, now's the time. Get down here. A few of us are going to die in the process, but what the hell's life worth if you don't try? Now let's mob this shithole and get moving. And I'll roll flashy on that, I guess, even though I'm not the greatest. But I'll evoke a known in the underground. So I got 3 on this roll.
Yeah, perfect.
And I got 1 up on the roll. So I got a 4 total.
Excellent. So, yeah, you give this soliloquy, and at first, there's no response. There's kind of a general hush that kind of falls over the crowd. And then you hear one voice, "Rise up! Rise up! and the chant starts to spread through the crowd. Voices here and there, not a sea, but stars in the sky, separated by distance. And all of a sudden, these programs that are separated and singular start getting to their feet and hurriedly making their way in your direction. Other programs are too shocked to really do much about it. And there's a murmur that starts rolling through the crowd. All right. Luke, what's Abja up to?
All right, so Abja has been going up this building still, and even at this point, he's still a little unsure of what he's planning to do. But he's that conceited that he probably thinks that whatever he really does will succeed. However, so from where he was going up the wall, would he be able to see everything that was going on, or hear at least?
Yeah, again, all of the walls of these buildings and stuff are just semi-opaque, so you can still kind of make out, at the very least, the lines of light that kind of trace the shapes and forms of most of everything that's involved in the combat. So you probably have a very clear view of at least one of the tanks, perhaps the one that's that just had its turret derezed, and then the other one you can kind of see hazy, but you can see the lines of it as well as the lines of your compatriots kind of crawling around on it.
Okay. And these people who are from the resistance, or this kind of resistance, are they coming from the crowd, or are they coming from the buildings?
As of right now, the people that that drive just stirred up are coming from the crowd down towards the arena. The program that identified himself as belonging with the resistance is out on the arena floor with you guys, currently trying to take over the tank with Alu.
And I can kind of make him out?
Yeah, you effectively can see kind of two program lights, you know, the shape of them working on trying to get this tank open.
All right. I like to think cinematically when I'm doing this. So basically the camera kind of zooms in a single shot of Abju's just his mouth as a small smirk begins to grow, and he can feel, even though it's been a while since he's felt a viral energy in him again, that need to be a well-intentioned traitor he kind of slips through just enough that he attempts to speed up while he's on the wall, launch himself off of the building, and try to land as close as possible as he can to the resistance leader, if not on top.
On top of the resistance leader or on top of the tank?
Or my brain's gonna say it the wrong way. He wants to launch off so that he can get as close to him as he can, so that he can jump off his bike and land on him.
So the intent is to try to tackle the leader of the resistance.
Right.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this sounds like perhaps flashy, maybe forceful. I'll leave it up to you.
Probably forceful.
Okay. Rolled up.
Okay. And I promise I will explain in chat what I'm why I'm doing this. So that's one. Okay, so that's. I got 2 blanks and 2 pluses and +1 for my forceful.
And did you also invoke one of your aspects?
I
can't remember if you did or
I think
not.
I accidentally. Oh, that's my trouble. Ugh. You can't invoke your trouble, can you? No, but can you invoke your high concept? I don't know.
Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. Then I invoke my reprogrammed Trojan virus.
Okay, so that'll cost you a fate point, but then you will get a +2 to your roll.
Okay.
And what does that bring your total to?
That's 2 + 2 + 1's a 5.
Okay. So you manage to gracefully disembark from your light cycle mid-flight from the top of this building that you have just leapt off of, and manage to, kind of spin the baton and reattach it back down to your thigh, tucking it away for future use, perhaps. And this program is very busy trying to rend open this hatch to get at the driver of this tank. Doesn't even see you coming at all. So what happens when you land on him?
So what I want to describe how it is I land on him, or what I want to do with him when I land on him.
Yes.
Okay. Would I be able to do a stunt to him?
Probably not until next round.
Okay.
But you can basically lead into what you want to do if you would like.
Okay. So he'll when he grabs hold of him, kind of drags him off the tank, like using momentum. But he can feel the corruptive influence of being from his past, kind of moving up his arms. It hasn't reached his hands yet, but he's trying to like hold on to his like face and with like this kind of almost maniacal intent, like trying to just keep like staring into his face.
Okay. Nice and dark. Okay. So is there a PC that has not gone yet this round? Lou, I don't know if you've gone yet.
I don't think I've gone yet.
It's your turn.
Okay. Alu is going to focus on the guy in the tank, and he is going to say, Operation 308, permanent redirect, and he's going to reach in, grab the guy, and throw him out.
All right. So doing this forcefully?
Absolutely. I mean, forcefully or quickly.
Sounds pretty forceful.
Yeah, it does sound forceful. I'm both trying to do it quick and forceful, but I'll take forceful. I got a net 0 on the dice, so 2.
Unfortunately, he had a 3. So you reach in and grab a hold of him, and the fact that he's seated in this cockpit and possibly even strapped in, there's just too much resistance, and you're not able to actually pull him free from his seated position.
All right, fair enough, fair enough.
And he's going to respond by finally grabbing a hold of the disc that he's got on his back, and then he's going to brandish it, and the light around the edge barks into existence as this orange, angry light. And he's going to take a swing kind of across your body, trying to quickly see if he can't cut you. How would you like to try to defend against that?
I am going to try and dodge out of the way. Like, I imagine I tried to tackle him and rip him out, and he just grabbed this thing, and I'm just gonna like drop and roll behind him.
Okay, so that definitely sounds like a quick.
I got a 5.
That is what he had as well. So you managed to just barely move out of the way, because I believe 0 shifts of damage means that you're good.
He actually gets a boost.
Oh, that's
Next time he
right.
attacks me,
Okay.
he get a +2.
Get a +2. Okay, excellent. So, yeah, he though he doesn't actually make contact with you, he comes very close, close enough that it kind of shakes you a little bit. Okay.
I'm imagining my ducking out of the way made me get more like prone.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
I'm all down on all fours to get out of the way.
Yeah, you flattened yourself to get away from his high attack, and now it kind of puts him in a good position to hit you again. The other program, the sentry that was inside the tank that is now turretless, kind of throws his hatch open and starts climbing out. Shield, I believe that you have readied yourself for just such an occasion. So what would you like to do about this?
In my mind, I got like a hammer fist situation going on here, and as I let him open up his hatch and it flips beyond the reach of my arm, I'm just gonna bring this hand down and bop him on the head. And I feel like on the underside of my hand where I'm coming down, that's where my shield is at this moment in time.
Doing a good old cap slash.
Yep, I'm forcefully beating his head in.
All right, go for it.
All right, I got a +5. Oh, that's 5, not 6.
All right, so yeah, what does it look like as you derez this sentry where he sits in the tank? You're muted, Baron.
I guess Shield probably anticipated this other program to not derez after I overexerted myself, don't know my own strength. And instead of booping him back into the tank, my fist goes right through him as the shield touches him and just kind of awkwardly, blunt force splits this guy apart. It's a good thing this isn't real people, because just cubes everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely not pretty, and the crowd reacts in turn. You know, a collective gasp kind of rises up from the people closest that can see it, and those that are still paying attention to the screen as opposed to the ripple that is making its way through the crowd itself.
And this might be a little too thinking into the minds of the crowd, but I think seeing someone or a program that's supposed to protect them kind of flashing these odd colors as he's essentially malfunctioning. He's not protecting anything. He's attacking. He's going out of his way to do damage, and maybe this kind of instills fear into the crowd that are not like, yeah, resistance. So you don't got like people bum rushing the guys who stand up.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely adds to the confusion and shock of kind of just the general malarkey that's going on. So, I think it is probably ISO's turn, if I'm not mistaken, or Drive. One of the two of you.
Drive could go first. ISO's just gonna stand up casually and observe the situation as if nothing really happened, as is his nature.
Well, I need a ride. So if the pilot of the convertible has been derezed, Am I close enough to hop and skip and jump in the driver's seat there and do what I do?
Yeah, to hop into the tank.
Yeah, I mean, Shield has done his work, and now he's kind of leaning back. Can I hop in the golf cart and do my business?
Sure thing.
So I guess I'll quickly leap forward and take the controls is the way to kind of mechanically say it.
I'm not even going to make you roll, man.
Oh, okay, great.
I could easily do that.
So just
Okay.
Vault over the back of the. For some reason, I feel like I'm behind this thing, and vault over the back of the tank. Slide right in. Give Shield a little digi wink with a bell sound. Bing. And see if what's our status on the bum rush? Is the audience going to be able to come down and pile into this street with us, or are they held in check by the wall, or what's our sort of status on the crowd?
Yeah, the first of them are now reaching the wall and are actually starting to try to climb up and over it. You know, their side of the wall is only maybe 3 or 4 feet high. So they're starting to try to, climb over it. Most of them are, again, not particularly physically gifted. So they're not just vaulting over it or, things of that nature. They're kind of clamoring. But they're definitely starting to try to make their way down onto the arena floor. And there's just pandemonium spreading at this point. The announcer hasn't come back on, but that somewhere, whatever program it is in charge of this fiasco is probably very quickly losing touch with what's going on.
Right. Great. Well, assuming all my allies can see we have shortwave, and I'm just like on the shortwave, I'm like, let's take this party out into the free grid. So with that, maybe they programmed the arena to resist fire and stuff, but I'm going to make a gamble that it can't resist a ram. So I'll just pop this baby in gear and head down this. We're kind of in one causeway, if I understand it, and just start making a straight line down that street for the barrier and just wave everybody in. And like, if anybody can jump on or, basically cling to Shield's ankles like Leia does to Skywalker, like we're going to do this World War II style. Quickly call up some files on World War II.
Absolutely. And yeah, this turretless tank starts kind of crunching its way towards the wall steadily but surely. All right, and ISO.
ISO was also in the back when this program lithely jumped up to the top. So he observes and reaches up with his extremely long arm and pulls himself up and lumbers up to them where the two of them are there all excited and greetings, programs.
Excellent. You can have a point, John. All right, so back over at the other tank where this resistance member has been tackled by Abja. He kind of looks up to you, Abja. He's like shaking his head, very confused. He's like, "What are you doing? We need to get control of that tank."
Abja just kind of looks back at him and is like, I can open your mind. You can see things you've never seen before.
The hell is wrong with you?
There's nothing wrong with me, friend. You just need to believe.
Okay. He is going to attempt his best to try to break your grasp and get away from you. So, how are you going to resist him trying to scramble away from you?
I'm trying to think of a way how to use clever as a way to. Well, is it my action or my defense? I'm trying to.
So he is attempting to overcome you. So there's overcome, there's attack, and there's defense. So he is attempting to overcome you. So I believe it's an opposed overcome roll, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure it's always defense. Anytime you don't want someone to do something, you defend.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay, so if he's using a clever defense, might be trying to
Perhaps it's something akin to what we would identify as jujitsu, or something along those lines. It's, you know, holding him in a specific place or in a specific way that prevents him from getting away.
like a submission hold.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's what he'd attempt to do. Like a
Okay, so go ahead and roll up your clever roll.
okay, and then so that's -1 +3. Yeah.
So it's a +3 total?
Yeah.
Okay. He got a 4 on his quick. So unless there's some kind of aspect or stunt that you would like to try to add to the situation, then it sounds like you might be getting away.
If I use my aspect, I can't use my stunt. Wait, if it's in order to use a stunt, I have to specifically spend a fate point, or only if it says I use a fate point.
Yeah, stunts only involve fate points unless they specifically say. Aspects always invoking an aspect always costs a fate point.
Yeah, I don't think I've got a. Unless I try to use my corruptive influence to change his behavior? No. I'm trying to. Nah, I might be stretching it a bit.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe just in this instance, he does actually manage to quickly break free of the hold that you have of him and kind of scrambles back on his, basically on his ass and his hands, just kind of scooting back away from you. And he kind of looks over to Alu and he's like, I thought you were on the same team.
I'm inside of the tank.
Oh, okay. So he looks for Alu and doesn't find him. And he kind of scrambles to his knees and his hands. And he's like, you need me. You need me to get out of here. If you want to get out of here, then you got to stop what you're doing. You've got to help me. Okay.
All right, so
Can we hear this exchange on the shortwave?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alu is going to try and he realizes he's at a disadvantage, so he's going to try and regain the advantage by quickly. There's like a chair that he's sitting in, right? Alu's is gonna like jump up, put his foot on the chair, and leap out of the tank to try and get the high ground.
To attempt to get the high ground on whom?
The guy in the tank trying to kill me with his disc.
Gotcha.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I would definitely say that would succeed.
Does it succeed with style?
I would say so.
Excellent. Well, that's my turn.
Okay. So let's go with shield.
All right. So I'm kind of just chilling on this other tank, going the direction away from the other tank, which, to my understanding, is pretty much handled.
Well, Alu is kind of locked in battle with the driver at the moment, and there's other business that is going on not that far from it between
Right, between
Abja and the supposed
leader
member
of
of the resistance.
Yeah, Shield, we've got a virus malfunction over there. What are we going to do with this guy?
I think you kind of see. I don't know if anyone's seeing it in the chat. I'm kind of thinking that my character maybe had a run-in with this virus character, and that's why I'm acting funny.
Sure, that's fair.
Maybe one of his attacks hit me in a way that it just fried me out a little bit. So maybe we were apprehended together. I'm being very liberal with this at this point, but so I kind of turn my head and lock onto him, and I'm gonna leap off my tank. I doubt I'm very fast. Like I said earlier, I skip leg day. I'm just gonna kind of, as quickly as I can, run over and help in any way I can, whoever I see as the justified party.
You tell me. Who do you think seems the most justified in this situation?
Well, I guess I don't know exactly how far away I am, if I would make it there in a round, but I'm going to try and, I guess, just separate the virus and the resistance leader.
Do you still have your light bike?
I do. That's actually probably the ideal situation here. So maybe I jump off the tank onto my light bike and head that direction, and just kind of with my arms scoop up forcefully both of them, so we're in a big digital group hug.
Okay. Well, I would imagine that Abja is probably going to resist the said group hug, and I know that the other program is certainly going to. So, what we'll need from you is
actually let me rephrase that. Maybe not a group hug. I'm going to throw them back on top of the tank.
Okay. Both of them?
Yep. Forcefully as I can. And I don't know if that would invoke a disadvantage on my end. But yeah, I'm going to try and throw them up on top of the tank so they can settle their differences up there.
All right. So, go ahead and roll your forceful up. And then, Object, you'll need an opposed roll. However it is that you see that you're going to try to avoid this if you'd like to.
All right, so I'm working with a 0.
Well, yeah, Beeden also got a 0. So, not looking great for him. Luke, did you want to try to resist this? And if so, how?
To resist, oh, my brain's shutting down on me, sorry.
Yeah, to resist Shield from trying to slam the both of you up onto the tank.
Actually, no, I won't, because it would make more sense that he's kind of distracted. That
Sure.
he wouldn't. He just let it happen.
Yeah, maybe he didn't even see it coming. He may have approached. Shield may have come up from behind Abja. So it sounds like, Shield, that though it wasn't a real valiant effort, that it seems to have worked. And both of them kind of clumsily stumble onto the top of this tank as the battle inside between Alu and the driver kind of unfolds.
I want to say that their opinion of this toss was that was a gentler thing that they probably would have seen come out of me. It was very cushioned and nice, a pleasant toss.
Yeah, Shield even apologizes and shit. So, Alu, you managed to get yourself into a better position. Yes?
Absolutely.
All right. So, let's find out if this guy is able to get at you with his boost that he has from last time. he actually begins to climb up out of his seat, somewhat giving chase to you over the top of this tank that is now getting very crowded. And he's going to brandish that disc again and try to get at you. What would you like to try to avoid?
Well, he's gonna like come out and like punch at me, and I'm gonna just jump over him and land on the other side. Like he's gonna try and hit me, and I'm just not gonna be there anymore.
Okay, that definitely sounds like a quick. So what you got?
I got a total of a 5.
That's
What have you-
almost enough to escape his 7.
Then I'm gonna invoke that I have the high ground.
Okay, so that will tie with a 7, which means that he's able to. He actually takes a chunk out of the body of the turret as he tries to get at you. But like you said, you have the high ground and you're just too fast, and you manage to roll out of the way as it does nothing more than just kind of pixelates and slices through some of this tank's body. Okay, so we're back to PCs.
He
What's up?
tied again, so he's gonna have another boost.
Yes, sir. So we're back to PC's turns. Alu, if you'd like to go first, you may.
All right, so I've jumped behind him now, and I'm gonna try and use the fact that I'm behind him to just slam my entire body against him and try and like derez him by crushing him against the tank.
Okay, so that sounds pretty forceful.
It's definitely forceful. 2, 4.
He fails with a 3. So what does it look like as this works?
So imagine he tried to punch off on me, and I jumped behind him, and I actually grabbed onto the side of the turret, and I like pulled myself in, and then I threw my legs out behind me, and I kicked into his back and just smashed his entire body against it. And as he goes forward, he derezes, but the top of his chest doesn't derez right away, and he just slides off, hits the ground, and then just his pixels fly up, and his disc is just laying there. Your disc doesn't go away, does it, if you get derezed?
I don't think so. Why not? So yeah, it kind of does that, thing that round lids do. It kind of wah, 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 before it kind of comes to a rest on the glass floor. So nearby, Alu, as you're kind of standing on top of this tank, the program, Deedon, kind of looks up at you and says, "Excellent. Well done." He says, "Now, will you help me?"
Affirmative.
Good. Now, I know what I'm going to ask you. You might sound kind of crazy, but I have the codes that it takes to override this tank, to do damage to this arena, and blast our way out of here. But it requires sacrifice. The codes are smuggled. And he holds out his right hand towards you. They're hidden inside my hand. You have to derez my arm from the elbow down in order to get to them. And he kind of turns his head away from his arm.
I'm going to see if I can't use the fact that I'm a lot smarter than him and figure out a way to get them out of his arm without cutting it off. Like shear into his arm and scrape part of his arm away and then take the codes out that way instead of just breaking it off.
Is ISO in the same tank, or are they in the different tank?
ISO is on the other tank at the moment.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so that definitely sounds like a careful maneuver.
I'm going to use my once per scene brute force to just figure out how to do it. Because I don't want to be careful. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. So that's definitely going to put at least a consequence in him, but you manage to save his hand and his arm as you kind of use your disc and kind of carefully push into his arm just a little at a time, and he's just screaming, this kind of mix between what it might sound like when a user screams and this kind of digital distortion. And you manage to see this small glowing stream of code that is embedded down inside the body of his arm.
Code acquired. And I just pick it up, and I'm going to jump in the tank, and I'm going to use the code on the tank like how it's supposed to be used.
Excellent. So you grab the code, slip inside, and you're able to manipulate this tank. And you're pretty sure, with the changes that this code made, that it will now be able to blast its way out of this arena. The crowd is pouring onto the floor of the arena, rushing towards the closest of the two tanks to them, shouting things like, "Long live the resistance! Take me with you! I want to fight!" They're trying to climb up on top of these two vehicles as Drive eventually gets his tank nose first into the wall and slams into it, and there is a small little hairline crack that kind of starts to form in the glass. But he knows that it's going to take a lot more force to actually bust through this thing.
Alu is going to say, "Attention, safety protocols disabled." And then he's going to shoot the wall.
And when he does so, it hits the wall, this 15, 20-foot wall of the arena, and programs have scattered. And all of a sudden, this enormous crater appears in the wall and immediately just starts to cube apart, derezing and spreading out all over the floor, leaving this enormous, mostly circular hole in the arena. And through it, you're able to see on the back side the city of the grid kind of extending out into the darkness. It appears that you have your exit.
Attention, form an orderly queue and escape.
Do we have any systems that we can put on, like some scorpions, as we gun it out this crater? We're in a post-scorpions world, right?
Sure.
Play Winds of Change on my tank stereo.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you lay down a pretty sick escape soundtrack.
Alu's going to play Judas Priest, Breaking the Law.
All right. So as you two tanks, with you 5 individuals, as well as a myriad of other programs, flee this arena, starting to dissipate and disappear into the city, maybe as guided a little bit by Deedon, giving you some direction as to where to go, perhaps as to best disappear. We are going to go ahead and take our break. So, take a bio if you need to, refill your drinks, kiss your spouse, smoke them if you got them. It sounded like there may be 1 or possibly 2 players that need to make a real exit. But after a few, we will come right back and get to the second part.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bail. I can't. I got to pick her up here in a bit. I mean,
Understood, man.
I got maybe 10, 15 minutes max. But if you're looking at another 2 hours, I can't. There's no. I got to pick her up.
Yeah, it probably won't be another 2 hours, but yeah, if you got to go and help somebody out, then absolutely, man. I totally understand. I appreciate you playing and hanging with us.
Yeah, no worries. Just NPC him in the same process. It should be no issues.
Will do.
And I will catch up with you all another time.
And yeah, I have to also drop too because my brain isn't. I've had to not get into details. I've had a very stressful week, and my brain's just not up to. Like, I don't think it can handle the other part of the game. Sorry, guys.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.
All right. See you guys later.
Peace, man.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. We've still got another couple of minutes here before the others are kind of expected to be back. But for now, I will do my best to entertain you, if I can. So we did have a player that had to depart. He had what sounded like a family emergency crop up. So want to say an official thank you very much to John for hanging with us this evening. And yeah, we'll have to catch him later on. So, yeah, oh, it looks like Luke may have ducked out as well. So he was saying that he was falling asleep. So I guess maybe it was a long day for him. So he likewise took a leave. So we will get started here.
It's one of the, I guess, downsides to playing on the computers. You can get comfortable.
For sure. Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like Hankerin's going to have to ditch as well. Well, all right. So I will leave that to Baron and Alex, as if you guys want to try to continue, or if we will call it a night here.
I personally don't mind playing. I mean, it is getting kind of late, and I don't necessarily mind cutting it, I guess.
Okay, cool. So we will wait for Alex to get back, and then we'll make a final verdict about that. But yeah, absolutely. Hankerin, thank you very much for playing, man. And I will catch you when I catch you. Alex, I don't know how much of that you heard.
Most of it.
Okay.
I mean, Fate is perfectly playable with only 2 players. So if you wanted to do it, I'd be totally down. But it's also a good place to call it, like we escape into the grid, if that's what you want to do. I would rather play, but I won't begrudge you ending it early.
I mean, I definitely have more story planned out. So if you guys want to keep going, we can keep going.
I'm down to keep going.
All right, good. All right, let's do it.
Okay. So I'll jump ahead just a little bit. So some of the people who escaped from the arena with you weren't really ready to officially join the resistance. Their freedom was enough. So they took their leave and departed as friends and potentially future allies. So the 2 of you roll out with Deedon, and eventually, a couple of millicycles later, you're brought to a meeting with an individual that you've been told is called the Renegade. And you've probably heard of the Renegade before, because living here in Argon City, the Renegade has started kind of stirring up trouble. You know, some people call him a terrorist. Some of the actions that he's been doing are not wholly unlike what happened at the arena involving you. So when you meet him, you may or may not be a little surprised to see that some of the rumors could be substantiated. Emblazoned on his chest in a collection of cubes is a stylized T that you may know belonged at one point to a program known as Tron. So how do you respond as you enter this secluded place for this kind of shady meeting with this individual?
I'm going to say Alu, actually, he was just a mindless part of the machine at one point in time, and he got freed. And I'm going to say it was actually, if not the Renegade, like one of his people is the one who freed him. So he's totally happy about this. Like, he's gung-ho for revolution, and he's super excited to meet this guy. Like, he's a hero, you know? You'd call him a terrorist, but I'd call him a damn hero.
I would say that Shield would kind of be relaying back on his original programming as a defense protocol to see if this kind of matches up in a similar way to Alu's parody stunt. Just kind of see if it matches up. Does this necklace, is this Tron, or is this someone who has adopted the moniker? I guess I'd be going about this in a clever way.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like it.
All right. So I got a solid 1.
Yeah, so you're unsure. Like this T is kind of a part of his outfit, his what he's wearing. So there, you have heard of programs being able to change their appearance outwardly before, but it's hard to know whether that's the case here or not.
Maybe this is one of those circumstances where, you know, my color flashes and I can't exactly properly access this this protocol.
Absolutely. So as you're brought in, Deedon kind of conducts introductions between the two of you and this individual known as the Renegade. And the Renegade kind of looks the two of you up and down and nods and says, "You were involved in the escape at the arena this afternoon?"
Affirmative.
It was good work. Taking out light tanks is not something that many programs can claim to have done. It takes some skill.
Teamwork was required.
You could have a fate point, Alex. So then, am I correct in assuming that you may be interested in a larger part in the resistance?
LU is gonna... You know what? He says affirmative, because that's what he's like. Affirmative.
He says good, and then he turns towards Shield.
I think Shield would kind of shy away from the question at first and then turn back very, very strongly. I'm pursuing justice. That is my original programming.
We all want justice. It just so happens that right now, Clue is the target. He's got to be stopped. His paranoia is increasing. He's getting more and more hungry with his power. What's even worse is he's up to something. I don't exactly know what yet, but it's been codified as his initiative. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but there's a facility here in Argon City, down by the docks. And I think he's taking programs there. Programs who speak out, programs who fight against this oppression. And I think he's repurposing them for something else. They go into this facility and they don't ever come back out.
This operation will be deprecated.
Good. I like your enthusiasm. There's a program who is Clue's most dangerous soldier. His name is Dyson. He's been in charge of making sure that this facility is up and running, but that it stays quiet, for now at least. I figured out that he is supposed to be at this location in just a few millicycles. There's a demonstration that is being given for him. to show him what this facility is capable of. I can't be there myself. It's too high profile. But I would like for the two of you to slip into this gathering. If you can, discreetly plant explosives. Send this facility crashing to the ground. And if you can, take Dyson with it.
I don't know Dyson's exact role in this hierarchy, but I think this entire conversation, my character has been mildly struggling with this malfunction brought on by trying to access his memory. And I think the mention of Dyson kind of brings him to a flashback of one of the people that made the call to send me to the arena in the first place, and he was one of them. So this kind of, snaps me back to my solid yellow. And in like my mind's eye, Dyson, justice unachieved, or some kind of sub program that's initializing, and I flare up and both shields ready. Dyson must face justice.
Good. Again, I like what I'm hearing. So, well then, it sounds like the two of you might have a party to get to. And he turns towards Deedon and he says, Deedon, get them the supplies that they need, would you? I've got something else that I've got to attend to. He turns back to the two of you and he says, Alu, Shield, it's good to have you on board. Welcome to the Resistance. He turns and climbs onto a light cycle and streaks away.
Resistance.executable file.
Okay, so is there anything that you guys want to try to gather up other than the explosives that will be given to you for this mission you'll be given?
I mean, we're going to be given light cycles, obviously, too, right? I mean, that's all I can think of. I can't think of anything else that we'd really need.
I really can't picture much outside of that for Tron inventory. Some light rope, maybe.
Yeah, the light batons that you'll be given that have a light cycle programmed into them, they have one other thing programmed into them that is going to be kind of a trick up its sleeve. You'll have light shoots. So if you're unaware of what those might be, this is the kind of thing that you're looking at. It's kind of these four-armed paddles, if you will, that extend out in a cross formation on your back. And will essentially slow a descent very, 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 very much, so that you'll be able to do so. You'll be able to fall with grace, if you will. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. I do want to know, could we get light rope? Like a grappling hook of some kind? Because that sounds dope.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can. It's effectively kind of this, almost like a hockey puck. And he uses it in Legacy. One of the guys uses it to grab onto Kevin Flynn's disc and pull it off of him. So it's that kind of thing. Okay. So yeah.
All right.
Deedon actually absolutely makes sure that you get that equipment, and it's the kind of thing where it seems like it takes him a little bit of time, that he may have to go through a couple of channels to get it to you, but he definitely comes through in the end. And before you know it, you're on your way to this demonstration party. You've heard it called both.
Actually, I have
So-
one more thing. Could we get like
Sure.
something like most things are made out of this glass thing, even if it's completely opaque. Could we get something that carves a hole through the glass? Like
I
a
kind of
circle?
picture like our discs being able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, never mind. We're good then.
All right. So
Well, before we get into this, kind of just my thought of initial approach before we actually do it. I imagine as a defense protocol and an arithmetic unit, we're probably both very common. So maybe not right now, but in the event that we get to this event, I would go at it with my faceless aspect, that we could probably make it seem reasonable that we are here.
You're muted, brother.
oops. So yeah, absolutely, man. So what is the first interaction that you have with kind of the first defense of security guards, these sentry programs? How do you approach that?
And this is up for debate. I almost see it as like the casual, me and Alu are talking about the events that happened at the arena, kind of like, you know, us catching up, talking about the weather kind of thing, just bullshitting as we're walking through this checkpoint, not even acknowledging him. Like, you don't need to ID us. We're supposed to be here.
Yeah,
and I guess
but
to do that is when I would invoke my aspect.
I would definitely say so, because these sentries are almost laconic. You know, they have almost zero personality, so they definitely kind of hold up their hand. And as you approach, their definitely intention is to try to stop you. So, what you got as far as a roll? What approach are you going to be using?
Sounds like clever to me.
Definitely clever. I'm looking at a 4.
Excellent. They only got a 2. So, these two guards kind of look like they're about to stop you, and you flash some kind of familiar greeting, some kind of particular exchange that a lot of the blackguard, or not the blackguard, the sentries kind of use. And, you know, the one that looked like he was about to say something kind of puts his hand down and says, "Go through."
I'm thinking it's like a gang handshake, like really intricate, that only us defense protocol units would know.
Sure.
So like the one guy's like, "Oh yeah, they're good."
Yeah, and they let you right through to the elevator. You manage to get onto the elevator and press the button, which naturally, it's the top floor of this facility. And as the elevator is slowly starting to rise all the way up, probably some 200, maybe 300 feet, is there any conversation that transpires between Alu and Shield? Or is it a quiet ride?
I picture it being a quiet ride. I mean, I don't think either is particularly chatty.
Honestly, we would probably just we'd be bullshitting. Like, yeah, man, I guess this is pretty cool. If I had a cell phone, I'd probably be looking at it. What happens when you ride in an elevator with a stranger and they force conversation on you?
Alu will say something like, "This would be an adequate location to lay a bomb. That way, no one can escape."
Absolutely true. In hindsight, we didn't exactly put one on ground floor, but I guess if we bring the top floor down hard enough.
Negatory. Upon escape, place bomb inside of elevator and send it to the bottom floor.
I can dig that. And you notice an informal tone to Shield now as he's more embracing this malfunction. It's basically giving him a personality.
Excellent. This elevator continues to climb up as the two of you discuss where you're going to be placing the explosives to maximize the efficiency. And it slowly comes to a stop. And there's a whooshing noise as the two doors slide open. And the beat of music, kind of the deep bass thrum of some kind of pounding techno music, enters the elevator as you exit and find yourself in what could pass as a club almost. There's sleek lines everywhere, people drinking, carrying on, fraternizing. It definitely doesn't look like the kind of thing that you might have expected for presenting slaves, if you wish. So a couple of programs kind of look over as you enter the party and then kind of just go back to their conversation. So what are the two of you going to do?
I think Shield would let Alu kind of lead this scenario since I'm more offsetting than he is in this scenario.
The first thing Alu is going to do is move away from the elevator someplace inconspicuous and assess the entire room for ideal places to set explosives. Especially places where he feels like he could slip an explosive, unless someone was specifically looking for them, they wouldn't find them.
Yeah, you absolutely are able to find little out-of-the-way places, behind the booths where people are sitting, behind some of the light fixtures, things of that nature, where your guess is that nobody's going to be able to find them. And again, these explosive devices are probably only the size of maybe a hockey puck. Again, they're round, they're maybe only about an inch, maybe an inch and a half thick. So it's pretty easy to tuck them away where people aren't going to see them. And essentially, you basically just kind of affix it to a surface and twist, and it sticks to the surface, and you punch in the code to activate it, and you're able to enter a delay if you'd like.
Can we, instead of doing a delay, do a remote activation? Like, I press the button and all the bombs go off? I'm going to put a delay of 30 minutes, or when I press the button.
Okay, so if you guys would, I would like each one of you to describe 2 different instances of you placing these explosives in relatively close proximity to elements of this party.
So I'm going to do something out of the ordinary for a defense protocol unit, and I'm going to order the equivalent of a drink, I guess. I don't really know what programs indulge in their free time.
Yeah, they typically drink energy.
Well, I'm gonna get a glass of energy, and I'm gonna kind of do the old lean on this light bar, and in the same way someone would like stick some old gum, I'm gonna stick this bomb on the underside of the bar, and maybe time it right as he's like putting the glass down, so like the suction and is like the glass hitting the bar at the same time, and the bartender's like, what was that? It's like, I have no idea. Walk away.
The first place Alu is going to put it is intentionally sends a little bit of surge of code over to one of the speakers, and it crackles. And he immediately moves over to it and opens it a little bit like he's repairing it. But really he's going to do is just stop interfering with it and attach the bomb inside of the speaker.
Yeah, nearby, there's somebody that was kind of casually watching you mess with this thing, but he didn't pay too much attention. It wasn't something that was absolutely captivating to him. So he definitely misses, you take a momentary lapse in his attention span to slip this explosive into it. And Baron, what's your second one?
So I got a drink. I'm kind of, mind you, this whole time I'm kind of scanning for this Dyson character. I guess I don't know exactly what he looks like per se. Actually, yes, I do. What am I talking about? I know exactly what this dude looks like. It was the other guy.
The picture.
So I'm looking for this guy, and where am I going to put this other bomb? I'm going to go in the bathroom. And I'm going to stick it in the bathroom? No. Maybe I'm going to walk back towards the elevator and get it next to the elevator or something. Do you got any ideas?
I was going to see if there were toilets, and if there was, I'm going to place it on the, lift up the lid and put it inside the toilet.
That's exactly what I was about to say, but I don't know, how much catastrophic damage from inside the bathroom that'll cause.
Well, I mean, we got to look for explosions that will damage the structural integrity of the building.
True.
And if there's a load-bearing thingamajig, a pylon, that you damage because of that explosion, it's going to make shit fall.
So maybe there's like a Tron stripper pole that's a main support beam to this fucking penthouse.
Now, you're fairly certain that there's a structural component located in, one of the walls of the bathroom, where it kind of adjoins to the rest of this facility. So you're absolutely able to place it in or around one of the, whatever the equivalent of a toilet that programs in Tron use.
Do they even go to the bathroom?
I don't know, but why not? So you managed to find a place that you can kind of tuck one away out of sight in the bathroom. So what is Alu's second and final explosive?
I'm trying to figure out, because mine was going to be in the bathroom, so I'm trying to think now. I picture that there's like a VIP area with like nice couches, and he's gonna kind of like activate the bomb and see if anybody's looking at him. If it's not, he's just gonna kind of casually toss it under the couch. So it's not affixed to the surface, but it's down there and active.
Roll it like a quarter out of your pocket.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it might even attach to the floor, once it comes to rest.
Yeah, I mean it might. I'm saying he's not trying to stick it anywhere. He's just trying to get it under the couch.
Sure. Okay. And just about the time that the two of you finish up kind of planting these explosives, there's a program who you're guessing, if you don't know, S.H.I.E.L.D. may know, as Dyson. The individual that you now see on the screen, he's very lean, has a very, very sharp features, an intense expression. He doesn't seem to necessarily be having a good time here. He seems rather apathetic to the whole thing. And he almost looks like he's waiting for it to be over with. And before long, there's another program who must be in charge of this facility. And you've overheard people refer to her as MIDI. And she, for lack of a better term, she's the taskmaster of this place. And she is not really dressed like she's at a party, like a lot of the rest of the people here. She's dressed more in attire that is business oriented as a taskmaster, almost armor like. And she has this coiled whip of light that kind of dangles by her hip on one side. She kind of gets the attention of the room, and she addresses Dyson mainly. She says, Dyson, you are the right hand of Clue, our savior, our luminary. You have tasked us with his initiative, and we have taken the steps towards completing his goal to make the grid a better place for all programs. She says, may I please present batch number 1. The door on the side opens, and programs begin to march in. These programs are similarly colored the way most programs on the grid are. Shades of blue, green, purple. But they march like sentries. They have completely stoic expressions on their faces, march in military fashion, and then snap to attention in perfect formation, standing in front of Dyson, with Mitty out front. She says, sir, you have the honor of making the final change. And she extends her hand and hands him what essentially is a large, glorified button. Dyson kind of extends his hand, almost looking like he's about to stifle a yawn, and takes it from her, barely raises an eyebrow a bit, and then presses this button. And starting nearest this button that has just been pressed and kind of filtering through the crowd, each of these programs' coloration changes to orange, a uniform orange, all of them exactly the same, one after the other. And in addition, on the outside of their outfits, small changes begin to occur. Small shifts in pixelated cubes kind of dance across the surface and form into a uniform. And they now match identically the rest of the centuries that you have come to see and expect here on the grid. Mitty, kind of over her shoulder, says, "Sentries, whom do you serve?" And in unison, they all cry out, "Clue." Dyson looks only mildly impressed, but it's more expression that you have seen from him throughout the entire evening. So, what would the two of you like to do at this moment?
Well, ALU leans over to DPU and says, "Mindless, no more alive than a light cycle. No more alive than I once was."
But every bit as effective as a light cycle. And I'll kind of tense up, not activating a shield, but kind of readying myself for whatever's about to happen. Maybe kind of maintain my gaze on Dyson here. Justice for that one. That's my target.
And as the two of you are kind of whispering back and forth, you notice that Dyson actually is speaking to Mitty in barely a whisper that is contained, so you don't really have much trouble overhearing what's being said. And he says, so all of this, what you're capable of, what this facility has been able to do, is stored securely on your disk. And Mitty says, yes, sir. As of now, it's the only copy. We're working to create additional, just so that if Clue decides that he can open more of these facilities. Dyson kind of nods and says, good. As soon as a copy is ready, I would like it in my possession. She says, we will double our efforts. So, the party continues on, unless there's something that the two of you would like to try to do.
Do we believe that where the explosives are now, if they went off, it would actually destroy the whole facility?
Yeah, it's one of the things that you kind of went over with Deedon about, the general placement of these explosives relative to the structure of this compound. And essentially, you're going to be blowing the top floor, and where you've placed the explosives is basically going to cave in on itself and just fall through floor by floor.
Essentially blowing up glass.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, taking a second to, I guess, reevaluate the plan from what we just overheard. New target, that disc. If she is dressed the way she is, we can probably safely assume she might also have a means of escape in the event of something goes awry. So, screw Dyson. We'll blow him up. We need to get her.
Threat assessment. Too many enemies.
Threat assessment's irrelevant, and this will be the malfunction portion of me speaking. Likelihood of survival was always minimal.
Solution. Reduce survival percentage to 0. Maximize destructive force. He holds out several of the bombs and activates them all on top of each other, and kind of tucks it away, less visible.
And I think actually, instead of us, I could probably put a shield around us, and we could blow ourselves out of here as well, and then parachute to safety.
Chance of success minimal. Minimal, superior to none.
Yeah, see, exactly. We're on the same page. But we need to try and get that disc, though. So I guess from a mildly mechanical standpoint, you can override or overflow somebody, or was that the once per game stunt you had?
Oh, that wasn't me.
Oh, wow. I was gonna say could.
I overloaded somebody, but that was just me making an advantage.
Right.
ALU is actually going to say negatory. Disk must be destroyed. No good can come of it.
I think you're right. And this will be Yellow Shield back here talking, the order based. And I think he'll activate some bombs and place them on himself too. Maybe on the no. He's full. He's put him on his chest or something.
So the program standing closest to all of you have noticed you pull out this string of explosives and casually activate them. And their screams are starting to draw the attention of Mitty as well as Dyson. And they are definitely turning in your direction to try to see what exactly is going on.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm just gonna run over to them and detonate the bombs.
All right. So
I imagine Shield. Before this happens, I'm gonna tell Shield that he should put the bombs on the outside of his shield, so that he can activate the shield and the bombs will be on the opposite side of him. But he's got to be quick because I'm fucking running over there right now. He's got to catch up to me and put the shield in front of us because shit's going boom.
My thought is you quickly jump into my arms and I forcefully throw you at them.
I mean, that works.
And then I can invoke my my stunt here. Since I'm a defense specialist, I can react quickly in circumstances where my teammates are in danger.
Mm-hmm.
So then the attention is to alley-oop, Alu, straight at them.
We're going to bum rush the hell out of them.
And just take yourselves and them out as well? Or is the intention to try to get the shield up between the blast and yourself, or you and Alu?
From my standpoint, it's more of a priorities thing. Priority number one would be to invoke as much destruction as possible. Priority number two being survival. So I think after throwing Alu, my character just makes a mad dash behind him to try and keep up, though not as quickly, but to try and, get that shield around him as he's doing his thing.
Oh, you know what? I'll fucking tackle Mitty to the ground, giving DPU enough time to run over there, because she'll have to force me off of her before she can get away, so that'll give you time to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that idea.
Okay, excellent. So, Shield, give me a forceful roll.
I got +5.
Fantastic.
No, I'm sorry. +4.
That's still good. Excellent. Okay. So, Alu, you are maybe also forcefully trying to tackle her to the ground?
I'm trying to just quickly get over there and pin her down before she has a chance to even... I'm trying to get B bowling her over before she even has a chance to notice I'm coming for her.
Okay. So, yeah, this is definitely going to have to be quick because she was starting to already look in your direction to see what the commotion was about. So go ahead and roll your quick, and you'll get a one-time bonus because of Shield's force of a +2.
All right, let's see what we can get here. Okay, I got 2 on the dice. Nope, got 1 on the dice because a 1 brings it down. +3 for quickness is a total of 4. Yeah, I got a 4. I'll tag stuff if I need to, but right now I got a 4.
Okay. So she attempted to quickly get out of the way and only managed to get a total of 2. So you successfully take her down to the ground before she has a chance to kind of respawn. The sentries around are kind of snapping into action. And about the time that they have wheeled about and brandished out their poles, their kind of staffs that have this energy similar to your light discs on either end, they're kind of bringing them to bear and are turning and starting to surround Alu and Mitty, just as Shield kind of bull rushes his way from the back of some of them and the party goers and manages to burst forth into this circle, this ring that's kind of forming around Alu and Mitty. And Dyson comes approaching up, and he says, Mitty, what is the meaning of this? I thought you had this facility under control. What's going on here?
The resistance is not futile.
Resistance? You're part of the resistance? Get them! Somebody do something! What are you doing, guys?
I do not have the detonator, but I think the more immediate reaction than kind of bubbling us would be to defend us, I guess. I mean, I'd like to stop this explosion from hitting us, but the likelihood of that is reducing rapidly with the amount of people whose attention has been brought immediately to us. So I'm going to try and kind of keep these light poles at bay while Alu kind of gets his hand on the detonator here. Maybe we can bluff
I'm gonna
us.
pull out the detonator and like kind of kick her in the neck and then run over and hug DPU and press the button as soon as I get my arms around him, expecting that he's gonna put up the shield around us before I actually press the button.
Okay, so I imagine that shield, as he kind of bombards his way through the back of the crowd into the ring, maybe tosses you the explosives that he had activated. So now, like, you have all of them. And I think, like, as you kick Mitty in the neck and stand up, we see from, you know, an audience point of view, a camera point of view, that now all of the explosives are simply, like, sitting on top of her as she lays prone on the ground as, you know, Alu pulls away from her. And she kind of has just enough time to look down and go, what in the... And Alu hits the detonator. Shield goes from blocking these incoming sentry stabs from hitting himself and Alu, and just kind of in one fluid motion deflects one of them away, opening himself up as Alu kind of runs right into him, and Shield brings it down on the backside of Alu just as the force and the fire from this explosion kind of erupt out away. They throw Alu and Shield into the backside of the crowd that was standing just behind them and straight out the window of this place. The programs that were thrown free of this building with you, however, were not equipped the same way as you. And they fall hundreds of feet to their de-resolution. And as Alu and Shield fall, what is it that the two of you are going to do?
I think in a mildly kind of in the same essence of us walking away from the explosion without looking. We were jettisoned from the explosion without looking. So we'll coolly, like, I'll open up my cocoon here, and my shields will kind of give the energy surge to my light shoot here, and the same yellow color of my shields will kind of emerge from my back in the light shoot pattern here. And whether or not Alu is following suit, or if I'm kind of, you know, tossing him up to allow him to do that as well, I'm sure that's the outcome we're going towards.
Alu kind of pushes away a little bit and is falling. And he's falling backwards, and he slowly turns around, and he's looking at the ground, and he's like, optimal time to engage. And he activates them and gets whooshed forward as the, just the way the wind happened to be going. And, yeah, they're just fucking sailing out into the sunset, you know?
the light cycle set.
Yeah, I don't know. The sunset of when the CPU reboots, I don't fucking know.
It's basically the Minecraft sun, how it's just like one tier lower, one level of pixels lower every second.
So the building that you jumped out of was situated alongside Argon City's docks. and you see the crates of information waiting to be shipped to and from Argon City, stacked up, waiting at the docks. As you're kind of sailing closer and closer from, a building way, way taller than the scope of this picture shows here. And you find yourselves able, if you'd like to, you start gliding towards the bay itself, where this, well, we call it water, but it's more just kind of like soft pixelated mass that's just kind of gathered together. But it's certainly much easier to land there than anywhere else. And as you're falling closer and closer towards this bay, all of a sudden, something catches your attention. And it might have been seen as a sunrise, if in fact a sunrise had ever been seen by either one of your characters before. A bright light occurs on the horizon, some great distance from you. Both of you instantly realize that it's the opening of the portal, and it signifies the coming of a user. A user has returned to the grid. Something that hasn't happened in cycles. And about that time, the two of you plunge into the dark sea of the Argon City docks. And you begin to sink rapidly. Just as a vessel approaches, sleek and black, again lined with crisp blue lines, Deedon approaches in an underwater vessel and meets with you, collecting both Alu and Shield, and then floating away to serve whatever may happen next for the Resistance. Gentlemen, that's what I've got.
That was fucking awesome.
Good. Thank you. Thank you guys for sticking with it. Well, we ended up at the end with only 2 players. When we started out with 5, that's a very unusual situation, one that I've never been in with before, but I suppose it was unavoidable. Things happen, and it's completely understandable. So, go ahead, Barry.
No, I was going to say that was fucking dope. I mean, I'm not the biggest Tron buff by any means. Literally had to rewatch the movie for this game, and that was fucking dope.
Yeah, that was fucking dope is exactly my review.
Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate that.
New York Times bestseller. That was fucking dope.
Yeah,
I definitely. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm just glad we finished it because that was fucking dope. Like, we just blew up all the bad guys. I'm like, okay, let's suicide bomb. You're like, don't worry, I'll shield us. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not gonna work, but we'll try anyways.
Yeah, I kept feel like I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and shield us, but if I can't, I mean, we just blew everything up. So, and I hope that didn't necessarily detract from the narrative at all. I know we kind of hastily went into this end part, but
No, not at all. What I had planned, kind of ran a little long in the beginning, and I just trimmed a little bit of the fat out, and you guys came up with a much better, much more sophisticated way of ending it. I mean, I planned for you guys to kind of blow the top floor and parachute to safety anyways, but there was a couple of minor skirmishes that I just trimmed out because I think you guys interjected plenty of badass action and heroic moments. So
It's kind of a shame that we lost the players, but this definitely would have taken quite a bit longer had we not. So
That's also true.
There's pros and cons. I'm upset that they didn't get to finish it because they truly missed out on a great ending.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, happy accidents. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, guys, unless you have outros that you would like to toss in.
I mean, nothing specific. ALU continues to serve until his timely demise.
I think ultimately Shield's color will change to a permanent malfunction color of the ghostly light blue as he becomes more of the personality that this malfunction had created. But I mean, other than that, I'm Baron. I had a fantastic time playing this game this evening. Very helpful in the ways of fate. I mean, I had a pretty good idea before, but this has just further solidified my confidence in being able to run it for myself. So, Jeremy, thanks for having me again, and I'm signing off.
Absolutely. And as I stated earlier, thank you guys both very, very much for sticking with me through the end and seeing it finished. I have played with both of you a number of times, and yeah, I enjoy having you guys at my table. The other three as well. I also had a great time playing with them this evening. It was the first time that I've played with any of them. So I was glad to have them for the first half. And yeah, for those of you who tuned in this evening and gave us a watch, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And hopefully it won't be the last time that we see you. But until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.